Hello, Internet world. It is I, Raven J, here to entertain you. Hello, Internet world. Wow, listen to that. It is I, Raven J. Where is that coming from? Here to entertain you. Got it. Holy shit, that was crazy. That never happens. Hi. How is everybody that's out there? Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you are, whenever you are. You get it. Just answer. Answer the fucking question. Let's see here. What's going on? I invited Joe Stevenson to talk. I invited Autumn, who she's online, but apparently she hasn't seen the invite yet. I hope she does. I haven't spoken to her in a while. I haven't spoken to a whole lot of people on the phone. This is my first time broadcasting since surgery. Oh boy. You know. I don't know. One watching. And we've been streaming for a whole 85 seconds. That's crazy. I gotta get my boobage just right for video because, there's people watching. I have to impress. Okay. Well, if and when people come in, they want to chat, I am here to chat. I am happy to chat with them. I figured people might have some questions about the last couple of weeks. And I have to get my eyebrows done. That's one of the reasons why I wasn't happy with my picture I posted right before this. Not happy with it, but you know what? Part of it is I need to get my eyebrows done. It's been a few weeks. I need to do that. I need to do that. I am. You know what? I'll get into that later. If and when more people come in. But right now, I am checking all of my social medias. Might as well just go ahead and say I'm checking my socials. See what's going on out there in the world and what people are doing and who's around and who isn't around and so on and so forth. Michael Clifton, I don't know if he even has a computer at this point. He has some kind of computer issue, but I'll give it a shot anyway. He may or may not be able to come. So we tried that. Sent to Joe, sent to Autumn. I'm looking to see who else may or may not be around. Not seeing whole bunches there. Yeah, not a whole lot of them out there. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Not a whole. I can hear my kids in the background screaming. It's time for them to go to bed. Hey, Raven, how are you? How are you feeling? Good. Thank you. Very generic. That's me. Very generic. New photo? Recuperation going well? I'm not going to answer you right now. Yes, it is a new photo. Oh, what's that? You're welcome. Hope you're not having too much pain. Oh, the pain. Whew. It is manageable. This sucks. Somebody gonna come. Somebody. I don't even know who else to ask. Let me go on Discord. I am broadcasting just in case people get bored of fun stuff. There you go. That'll solve that problem. That's good. Thank you. I thought so too. Oh, I also don't like this. This blush. It's Cheekers. I don't like this one. I used to have one. It was like a dark. It was like a brown, and it worked really, really nice. This crap I don't like. I like the other one that was from, what is that? Pop Feel. No name cheapo brand. Pop Feel. But this, for girl, I don't like. Not my bad. Although I do like this eyeshadow, which I did not use tonight, but I normally use it. I need to get more. This is a Luminous. I got this from my daughter. I do like this. But I'm not wearing it tonight, though. Anywho. Sorry, looking at something funny on Facebook. Oh, Autumn. Oh, hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back to the world.
Thank you.
And
The world didn't miss me.
I missed you.
You're not the world.
Yes, I am. Yes, I fucking am.
Fucking am. Ah.
How do you feel?
What was that?
How do you feel?
Okay, so every now and then I get like a sharp stabbing kind of pain. And I say this because I think it sounds funny. Peach gets all upset. She keeps telling me to stop saying this, but I keep getting this stabbing pain right in the hoo-ha. She's like, stop saying that. Stop calling it a hoo-ha. I was like, it's my hoo-ha. I'll call it what the fuck I want.
You could think of worse things to call it. You know?
Right.
Sure.
I'm like, what am I going to call it? Like Madge the Vag?
I just went. So my dog's name is Biscuit, and
Okay.
when you deal with a dog, you have to have the rhyming name. So my dog is Bisky Whiskey, right?
It's cute.
But my friend Mike said, that's like a slogan for a vagina or something like Whisker Biscuit or some shit. I'm like, oh,
Oh, Whisker Biscuit. Yeah,
great.
I've heard that actually.
I've never heard that, but that's what me and my kids call her. Anyway, yeah, welcome back.
Thank you. Did you notice that the name of the broadcast is Making the Cut? I think the next several broadcasts or videos that I make are gonna have some kind of a like maybe slice of heaven or cut above.
Just look up all the Dexter names.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So, anyway,
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's because they used the dissolving stitches, and if you ever felt like the thread is like a plasticky kind of a thing. And I think what happens is depending on how I might move sometimes, like it stabs me. And I'm like, oh shit, there's my hoo ha. And it'll like be I'm walking or I'm sitting and I just shift a little bit and all of a sudden it's like damn.
right. So, is there like when you leave there, do they kind of because I mean, it's obviously an operation that where there's like a high, percentage of revisions and stuff. Do you leave with any kind of idea about like what your like the weeks and months to come are, or is it kind of individualized?
I think it's kind of individual. Um we're sent home with vague instructions on how to take care of it.
Mm,
Just a basic, first aid and that keeping it clean and stuff. And even that, they were like really, really light on details. I have an appointment on Wednesday, and I think I actually might have a slight infection in the wound.
pretty
And it's
common,
like those things are going to happen,
right?
you know, I'm not like dying or anything, but I think there's an infection. It hurts. Um,
Yeah, they definitely have like a long way to go. I know that before,
but
you know,
I mean, it
I'm,
looks nice.
does it?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
it
good.
looks nice. It's pretty.
Yeah.
But
Which do you mind me asking which one you opted for?
which version?
Yeah, which version?
Yeah, I opted for the two-seater and the convertible top.
Right.
Um, the title made you laugh, Joe. Are you going to come in or not? I did send you a link if you want to come in. Um, I actually got the zero/minimal depth. Um, I don't know who the fuck is watching, so whatever. It doesn't matter. Ain't none of y'all sleeping with me. They were able to give me about a 2-inch canal,
Mm,
so it's not like it's zero.
right. Okay. And you still have to contend with dilation and these kinds of
Yeah,
things. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious what I've got a long ways between where I'm at and like when it comes time to do that. So whatever you fucking tell me, you better like, you know, make sure that you deliver it to me in a way that isn't pointy and terrifying and scares me off of it. Because
I
that's
will not. I will not lie. I
no,
won't
don't
lie.
lie. Don't lie. But just dip it in a little bit of candy syrup.
Well, I mean, it's very, very simply. It's just very, like, very cutty and stabby, and removey. Um, it's really, it's. You know what? I went in, um, post op. Okay, post op. I've had some thoughts about the entire thing, not just for me, just in general. I've got some thoughts that I didn't have the life experience or perspective to be able to talk on. Um,
So
I
this is one of those where like so now that you've done it, what did you gloss over or miss, or what would you have wanted to know?
Well, let me see how much it would hurt after.
Fucking
It's not like, no, it's a manageable pain. I mean, I didn't use any opiates, no
what?
Percocet, no Oxy. No, I've been taking
On purpose?
yeah, on purpose. I've been taking ibuprofen. It's totally manageable pain. I mean, it's still pain, and pain sucks, but it's totally manageable. The doctor is actually really impressed. She was like, "Really?" Like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. It still hurts though, you know. But
Right.
here's the thing. Like, there was that big debate, and it has been and will be and always forever, I guess. This whole big debate about like the Blair Whites saying that this is far too easy for people to go and do. And the response from like us has always been, that's fucking ridiculous, because there's all of these, you have to do certain things, and there's, you have to talk to the therapist, and you need letters, and it takes time, and all that stuff. It was, number one, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. You and I both know, right? A lot of hoops to jump through. Number two, at the same time, this is way too easy for somebody to do.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I was like, and I don't regret it, but man, my makeup is fucked up. I'm out of practice. Um, I don't regret it. I am happy with where I'm at, where I am, and where I'm going, because there's healing yet to do. So I'm not really there yet. But I mean, and plus, I still want to do the top. But there's this whole like, you don't know what your life will be like if you remove this finger. You know, you think you do, and you think you're mentally prepared for it, and this. Of course, you don't need this. No big deal. But then when it's gone, you're like, oh, I can't change my mind.
No. Well,
That,
yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing.
that's yeah. That's it. That's done.
But
And
you
like I said, I don't regret it. I'm happy where I am and where I'm going. I'm not like, oh my god, what did I do? But I have had the thought, oh my god, this is so easy for somebody to do, and then spend the rest of their lives hating themselves. I think that's awful.
so
Does that make sense? Did you follow?
I understand. Um, Sorry for all of my notifications. I'll try to.
I'm getting my own, so it's okay. I'm
So
over here going, mm-hmm.
you don't regret it, but
Somebody
you
said I
still
was
think it was.
beautiful. Thank
You
you.
still think it was too easy. I mean,
Sorry?
that's fair enough. I mean, I want people to know what they're getting into, right? For sure. And if there needs to be controls on that, you know, I get it. But that, like, there are a lot of controls. And even if we, people like us, feel like maybe we could enhance that a little bit, I still think it's a far cry from the way conservatives complain about things like
Yes.
these,
I
right?
I I agree. I kind of felt like, thinking about like a lot of the things I've heard like people like Blair White say, and after having gone through the entire process, having almost like this compare and contrast between the reality I experienced, which is a fairly average one, I think, and what they say, and I would say that they're alarmist, they're out of control. Um, some of what they say, shades of gray, make sense, and you got to be careful.
You
You
know,
got to be careful when you say that, because that isn't advocacy for what they say, or the stuff that they push, but it is. There are nuances, and there are some pretty cold, harsh realities that are out there, that exist, that people like Blair do a really good job magnifying and showing the world. So they're worth looking at, to hear what they have to say and let them say their thing. Um, but beyond that, talk to your doctor, talk to people who have gone through it, and then compare and contrast, and see what makes sense to you. But I will no longer dismiss completely out of hand because
Sure, you have your
there's some
personal
meat,
experience.
there's
I
some
think
meat to some of it.
sure, I get it. But like the thing is though, people like Blair White put themselves into that position of not being taken, that is like not credible by people like us, because the thing is, like, I refuse to hate watch her anymore. I just it's not worth my time. But like the thing is, like, I still am subscribed just so I can like fucking see the bullshit. And I think the last video I saw was like trans ageism. Yeah, so that's a thing. And she's like doing an eye roll, and I'm like, it's not a fucking thing. Like, it might exist. Like, these things exist. There's fucking weird shit that exists. But like, you're taking weird shit and you're exploding it. Like, you're like they enhance, onto a thing that isn't us, right? And this is the fucking problem, is she's selling out us and fucking just trans people to like, I don't know why.
She's profiting off of it.
It's so weird though, because like I couldn't do that. Like I couldn't do that. I don't understand how you can do that, because the thing is, on some level, if you're this, you fucking know better, you know? That's the thing, is that you do. Like, you fucking know better. And like, it's not those things.
Yeah, it just isn't.
It's just not,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I know. I agree, and you're right.
like, she can maintain her credibility with all the fucking church going conservatives that she likes, right? That fucking validate their opinions. But like, you are the company you keep, right? And I can't imagine living in that fucking hell, right? That's the reality of it.
I mean, I've seen her address this a couple of times now, where people say to her, "They're going to turn on you, like you're not their friend.
They're not.
You're a useful idiot right now, and eventually they're going to turn on you." And she's just like, "Yeah, I mean, I know that's a possibility, but I just don't see it happening because we are like all like agreement on these things, and it's just like it doesn't change anything. You're still trans." No matter how much you say the things they want to hear, you're still trans.
Right. So there's like a reason I'm boy moding it like 99% of the fucking time, And it's because I'm fucking terrified, right? Because my fucking fears of just being seen and like uncomfortable in that way were escalated into getting shot because there's a fucking mass shooting like 10 miles down the road from my fucking house at a gay bar. Like, they don't get how like their rhetoric contributes to this fucking sentiment, right? That's the thing.
So we have what some people might call a trans elder in our town. She's a transition, not recent. She's been around a while. She was like the chairperson, I think, of an organization just across the border in Pennsylvania called Triversity, which is an LGBT advocacy organization. And she's very well known in the area. And when We're Here was here, she was she appeared on the show, and she was a big part of what was happening behind the scenes. After the show aired, somebody filled her mailbox with dog shit, and it's just like,
right,
that's my town. She lives right up the road from me. Yeah,
right. The thing is, like, we're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
And it took me a long fucking time to like untangle that for myself, right? And the idea that these people have come to a place to where it could somehow actually land kids in a worse situation than when I was growing up in the 80s it's just like not conceivable, right? Like, the thing is, like, I had a really fucking hard time, and society is opening up. And so, like, can you imagine, like, as hard as it is now, and then you see all of your fucking peers and your, like, everybody being able to do something, and, like, you end up in this fucking bullshit. Like that's happening with these conservatives, like in these states. Like the whole thing of banning care in Oklahoma. Like, yo, like this fucking shit, even if it doesn't fucking pass, like the fact that it's happening just affirms what you are is evil or gross or fucking whatever the fuck. And it fucks with people's heads, right? Like, why? I just like, so I look at Blair White and I'm like, why? This is fucking hard enough on its own, you know? Like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, and then the thing is always, you know, oh, the children.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I mean, if children are actually being protected from something, then fine. But they're not. The reality is like you had said, right? I mean, there are actually more kids now being harmed than they would be. There's a little girl, trans girl, that was on the We're Here in Florida. She's like 8 years old, right? And I mean, they're not talking hormones. There's no surgery. She just grew her hair and wore a dress.
Right.
That's it. That's it.
That's all you need to do at that age.
Right? That's what you do at that age, right? But I mean, that's all there is. And her mother works for the school system and is probably losing her job if she hasn't already. And they have to actually go out in public and advocate to basically to the world, don't kill us.
Yeah.
Basically.
Right. Like that's where I'm at. Like I'm thrust into like I did not get into this to be a fucking activist, and like it's become like a fucking ritual for me because like anybody that goes through this shit, at least in this fucking kind of town, I don't know about where you live, is fucking like, well, apparently I'm at fucking war, so I'm gonna fucking march and go to like these fucking board meetings and all this other shit, like because even if there's a fucking chance, you know, like I did not get into this for this, but it's like it kind of fucking comes with it, you know, or at least I feel like it does. It's fucking shitty.
Agreed.
So yeah, there's me, like once a CRB Vegas libertarian edgelord extraordinaire, now lefty trans chick.
So you posted something that I didn't understand about dating sites and being trans. Everybody else is just like, "Oh, girl, you're so right. You're so right," and I'm not understanding. I'm not getting it.
What do you mean? What don't you get? What was it?
You posted. You said something about dating sites and being trans and being like.
Oh, I said like a working class celebrity.
I don't know what does that even mean.
It's kind of like somebody that's in the public eye that has to but doesn't want to. Like their situation is such that they're like this is what they do for a living and they're working class. So like think of your local radio DJ that like fucking hates his job, right? And trying to find a guy on a fucking dating app as a trans chick is like weeding through a fucking mountain of fucking pervs. It's like fucking nuts. It's unreal. Oh my god. Like the thing is, you know about it before you get into it, but there's no way to like, you have to like experience it to like, you have to like get the dick pics, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
I get lots of them. I
know it's fucking crazy. And like, I get it, right? Like, look, I get it. I look like a boy. I fucking sound like a boy. And like, you basically just want fucking gay sex because like you're fucking paranoid or whatever the fuck. And in your mind, this somehow makes it okay. But like, it's not okay, right? Like, that's the fucking thing. And yeah.
Well, first, welcome, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Second is, I mean, I've gotten like pre-surgery, I got dick pics. I've been getting dick pics for years. With or without all of this, I've been getting dick pics.
Sure.
And yes, that is a brag. It is. I'm sorry. I mean, people see me and they're like, "This person needs to see my dick." And
Like it doesn't do shit for me.
post surgery, I've gotten a lot of dick pics, and it's kind of affirming. So
It was entertaining for like the first hour, right? And I'm like over it.
Yeah.
Like if it lands in my lap and something like that works out, right, and I can experiment in that way, like great. But like as far as these apps are concerned, like unless like something like catches my eye, like it's swipe all fucking day. And I'm not kidding. I can set this phone down and fucking leave. And like this is me. This is like the weird part because like when I look at myself, I'm like, I don't see it. But like I'm not exaggerating. Like fucking 30 of these fucking notifications, like it's fucking nuts. You know, like holy shit. Like, dude, guys are like dogs on like a physiological level. Like they are fucking like even the gay dudes, right? Like this is the thing.
straight men are worse, but yes.
Fine. But like, you know, um
Yeah, I was thinking about a couple things you both said. One, Autumn, about like you feel like you kind of, even though you don't want to be an activist, you kind of feel like you're kind of stuck doing it.
yeah, like it's like my life, right? Like
yeah. Well, and see, that's the thing. You know, every once in a while, I'll run into somebody, whether they're LGBTQ, whether they're black, whether they're name some minority in society, or someone, whether numerical minority, or they're minority from a power perspective, and they have to I don't want to be part of it. Like Morgan Freeman, like took that position. And of course, bigots try to use that against people who actually want to and my always thing is, first of all, Morgan Freeman has the luxury of being a famous, wealthy guy that a lot of what most of us face, he doesn't.
His experience is way different,
right.
Like, right.
But again, it gets used against the rest of us. And same thing I find for myself. While my business has had ups and downs, overall I've been successful. And there are bigots who try to, well, you were successful, Joe, therefore, the whole thing about systemic racism isn't a thing. Like, I had to fly to what a white dude could walk to, to use Chris Rock's thing. And so, yeah, I find that I get not wanting to have to do it. Believe me, I totally get it. But the people who don't, they really fall into two categories. The people who they just want to be left alone, and they think by keeping their head down that they'll be left alone, but they won't be. They might not be the first against the wall, but they'll be up against the wall with us at some point, right? And then there's the Blair White type that say, well, if I go along, they're like they're the collaborators, they're the Vichy. So I started using that as a thing. She's Vichy trans. Because basically she's like the people who collaborated with the Nazis,
Right.
So
that's right. Like I don't know. I can't. It's hard for me to think about because I just went through this. Like I just went fucking through this. Like it's hard for me to imagine like having gone through it, like how you end up somewhere else. Because like if you've gone through this, like maybe it's an age thing, maybe it's like something else, but like. You got to land in a different spot than where I'm at. Like it's so weird too with these fucking people. I go to these board meetings, right? These school board meetings and shit, because it's like my community. Like I'm a parent in this district. I have 2 kids that go into this fucking school. Like I give a shit about this stuff, right? Like I fucking care. And there's like these hate groups are like right there, like legitimate, like in your face, like you can touch them right there. Like it's not like some illusionary thing on the internet that you hear about. It's like right there. And like there's one of them is a black dude. Like, I shit you not, this is fucking real life. He runs a podcast. His name's fucking Tom, called Uncle Tom's Podcast. It's fucking real life. I shit you not. Like,
wow. Well, I mean, a more appropriate name he could not choose, But and the thing is that, you know, the here's the thing. Something Raven said earlier about how they pretend that they're protecting children or protecting people.
Oh
The
my
proof
god.
that they're not is that they'll attack those children they think that they pretend that they're protecting. They will attack. Right? You gave some examples earlier, right? So it's like, no, if you wanted to protect children, then you wouldn't be attacking the children. And the other thing, and I didn't come up with this, but somebody else. So I don't remember who. I wish I could give them credit. But the idea, like, okay, they always one of the things they try to say is that people who identify as trans or even gay sometimes they try to put forward this idea that you're confused, you have a mental illness or whatever like that, right? So whenever I hear this crap, what I do is I try to steel man their argument and then point out how they're full of shit. So I'm like, okay, let's for sake of argument, let's pretend that's true, right? Let's pretend it.
Sure.
Okay. So you're telling me these people that you think are mentally sick, they're ill and need help, but you want to make laws to hurt them and you want physical violence. So is that how you want to treat mentally ill people? Really?
Joe.
Usually that even they never have a good answer for that. And every once in a while I get somebody who kind of recoils because it kind of the reality of where they're at kind of smacks them in the face.
Yeah, like
you're saying, this mentally ill person, we should hurt them.
I kind of like that approach. I kind of do, and that's kind of why I've been getting pretty deep into the whole Satanism thing lately. Like, because like TST and all that stuff. They remember when they tried to do the 10 Commandment thing back like 10 something years ago, and then they put the Baphomet thing on. Like the thing is, what I've noticed, like by being engaged with this, like when people wig the fuck out, like, how do you worship Satan? Like, well, clearly I don't fucking worship Satan, moron. But like the thing is, like that instinct that they have, like it's like, yes, that freaking the fuck thing out, that look that you just gave me, that's what we think about you. That is how we feel.
Right.
With all of your fucking bullshit, all of your fucking fairy tale bullshit. Like, it's not real. Like, you want to shake the motherfuckers. Like, wake the fuck up, please. You're hurting people.
Well, even here, go follow what you said about when they think we're Satan worshipers, right? Like, okay, I've actually said to people, so what if I was?
Right.
You believe in religious freedom, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah, religious freedom. Well, religious freedom means for everybody, not just for you. It's not the freedom to follow your religion. It's the freedom to follow any religion or no religion.
It so reveals the supremacy, right? Like, that's the thing, is like they don't get like if you can point them and get them this far, they might get a glimpse of like how they can see how they have internalized this like default position, right. But like it was never a default position, right? It's like, so like that. I kind of dig this. It's simple, right? The satanic thing is simple, but it's kind of elegant. Like it kind of works, for that kind of stuff. And that's, I'm just going to keep
well, especially because what you do is you get them to kind of reveal what you just said. A lot of them, they'll say, oh no, it's just for Christians, or it's just for believers of God or whatever. And like, no, that's literally in a lot of sense. In fact, it specifically says no law respecting an institution of religion. So, and then they'll say, well, this isn't respecting an institution, it's respecting all of them. I'm like, that's worse. That's worse.
I know. But see, that's the beauty of the TST though, right? Because it's like, no, it's a religion. It's legit. It's recognized. And you have to honor it. And like this after school Satan, like after chilling with Satan or whatever the fuck it is that they do. Like, these people are my fucking heroes, man. Like,
well every time
doing the Lord's work, as it were, right?
Well, every time like there's a place, just say like a town, and they're doing a Christian invocation before their meeting, and then they're like, well, if you're going to allow religions, you have to allow all of them, and so it's our turn. And what's really funny is some towns actually are like, okay, and they let them do it, but then a lot of towns then they go, oh, no one can do it now, which is fine. I'm good with either one.
That's the point.
Right. Either we all have the freedom to do it, or none of us do.
Like, I feel like I am like 10 years late to this atheism debate, because like as a closeted trans person, as an out atheist for many years, like the thing is, like I still have grips, like, and religious trauma I struggle with, but like, Like I just never had a problem with the atheism thing. But now that it's kind of like I'm like at this intersection of like, coming out as trans, having kids in this school district that's trying to basically marginalize trans kids and gay kids more than they already are, and just kind of like I'm like ensconced. Like it's just like I have to be right.
Well, the other thing too, to your point about the atheism, here's the thing: while certainly not every transphobe is religious,
Right.
but the transphobia and homophobia is rooted in religion.
It's interwoven.
Right. It's basically it's because it's codified, right? They literally codified this
They can
stuff.
reference something, right?
Anything that's in Christian, this is what's really, it's so obvious. I mean, it's obvious that it's painful. It's so obvious. Like anything in Christian texts, holy scriptures about same-sex relationships or transgender, like wearing the clothing of the other, all of that is based in the need of the early Christians to separate themselves from Rome.
You know what else you're not supposed to do, though? You want to
if
know
it-
what else you're supposed to do? You're not supposed to fucking lie. And that kind of puts us in a fucking hard spot, right? So, like, which sin here is more sinister to you, right? Like, because it feels more righteous to, like, be who I actually am, right? Versus lying about it to me.
Right. Well, the other thing to that is what's kind of funny when you bring up the commandments, right? And there's more than just the 10. But they love to focus on the 10. But the thing that they always reference is when you're against LGBTQ stuff, that's all in Leviticus,
right?
But that's the same thing that tells you not to eat shrimp and not to eat pork and not to use mixed fibers and not to plant two different crops.
Is that the same book that actually prescribes abortion?
Yes.
So like, how does that work? How is it?
I've never heard the rationalization for it. I'm sure they've got one, but they'll say, well, here's my favorite is anything in Leviticus that they don't want to follow, they claim, well, that's the old covenant. Okay.
Right.
But then, so is the part about stoning gay people and not wearing clothes of the other and not eating pork and not eating shrimp and all those things. So you can't either Leviticus counts or it doesn't. You can't,
Right. Or like it's there, it's written. So like this is the thing with their whole religion, and I have mixed feelings about it because like I don't want people to have like their faith if they want it, right? Like this is the United States. But like the thing is, I don't get how like they don't understand that it's not their Bible speaking. Like I kind of wish that like I'm a fucking out and out trans chick and an out and out fucking Satanist, right? And I feel like I'm living more righteously and in accordance with their Christ than they do. Right? Oh, yeah. Like in a way, I kind of want them to actually be more Christian, like either be like none or like do it the right way.
Well, what drove me out of religion? I didn't become an atheist right off. I became like a non-denominational Christian, and it was exactly that. I looked at these people, these religious wackaloons, and I realized, like, hey, they do Christianity badly, and if that's Christianity, I don't want to be part of it. I could keep the good stuff, and I can get rid of the garbage.
And right. And not to mention, like, the thing is, like, even if God were real, they would still have to contend with the fact that he would be an asshole. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I mean, it's right there in the fucking book.
It says it right here.
He says he creates good and evil.
Yeah. I, the Lord, do these things. Wow, you're a douche.
Well, like, this is the reason why I'm an anti-theist still. Now my anti-theism is, I think, more moderated than a lot of people who use the moniker, because a lot of people who call themselves anti-theists, they think that means they need to be against individual theists and hate on individual theists. And no. My thing really comes down to this.
That can be fun though.
Oh, well, yeah. My thing is that when you get down to it, the problem with religion, because like I said, homophobia, homophobia is not the purview of religion alone. Neither is transphobia, all these different things. However, the problem is if you don't have religion, then you have to have a rational argument. You have to build an argument for why it's wrong. Whereas if you're religion, you say, well, God told me, this book said that, and I say that this book was either authored by or dictated from, the thing that made the being that made everything, and so therefore it doesn't need an explanation. It's not only the unquestioned authority; it's an unquestionable authority.
Right. To the believer, I hate homos because God is a totally acceptable, rational, reasonable answer.
That's right.
I mean, it boils down to the fear thing, right? They're afraid they're gonna go to fucking hell, so they but see, like at least right, at least some of them at least are decent enough to just be the kind that like check the block. Look, I go to fucking church on Sunday, I can kind of get along with those people,
sure.
but like these people that feel impassioned to like create heaven on earth, these kind of conditions as they understand them, which is not actually in accordance with their own faith, but actually in accordance with their weird fucking ministers, like those people that are inclined to fucking show up to these fucking school board meetings to literally ban books.
But they'll tell you they're for free speech and that the left is against free speech.
They are what I'm struggling with. Like, I don't know where they come from. Like, why? Like, I mean, I know, but like, I don't get. It's like a mind prison. It's like their brain is in a fucking cage, and I want to like unlock it. Or like,
sounds like a Nine Inch Nails song.
I love Nine Inch Nails.
When you said about a cage, you made me think of the Rollins song "On My Way to the Cage."
Your brain in the cage.
Like, right? Like, is it not though? Right? It's like in a way, like they bother me, but like also like I look at them like yo, you're kind of a victim. Like you're kind of like don't get it.
Well think my favorite example of what that true. I think somebody is truly a victim is Ted Haggard. Ted Haggard. We know this. I mean, if you're familiar with Ted Haggard, Ted Haggard was a Pentecostal preacher, and
right, yeah, he was the guy right up the street from me.
Yeah. So he was out there, being gay is the worst thing you can be. Turned out completely closeted, totally gay, and I thought about that. If you grow up in an environment like you have these feelings, these urges because that's who you are, but you've been growing up, everyone telling you that people like that are anathema. They like God hates them and they should be killed and all this kind of stuff. They should be driven out. Yeah. And to live in that environment while people are telling you this, it's gonna mess you up. And I think that's the reason why some of them are so, like not every virulent homophobe is a closeted gay person, but I think the reason why there are so many that are is exactly that. It's like it's like they have to hide who they are so deeply that they have to put on the front of I'm gonna go out there. Either that or it's a certain amount of self-hatred, or both.
Yeah, so I hid myself pretty fucking well, but like the thing was, like, even as far deep as to making myself believe shit, like the furthest right wing I could go was libertarian, right? Like I could never fucking be like a Trumper or like something like that. Like, I could always I'd be a trolly fucking libertarian, but like I wouldn't be like mean about it. Like, and the thing is, I don't know what I actually believed.
You're fitting in.
Internal, yeah. And like, I mean, and it does provide a comprehensive framework, and it's understandable, and I understand that, but like, it wasn't ever really you, and you kind of learn that along the way, like there's a difference between having a comprehensive framework and like that you adhere to versus one that you believe in. It's the difference between having a strong desire to adhere to ethics as opposed to actually caring about the subject that you're dealing with.
Mm.
Do you want to hear something?
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense to me.
Do you want to hear something wild?
What's up?
Going back to surgery.
Oh, sorry.
Day the day after my surgery, my niece was here yesterday and told me this. The day after my surgery, my mother said to my sister and my nieces that my son died yesterday. So,
oh, I got good news from my fucking dad. Like, he actually posts YouTube videos. I will never fucking tell you what they are, but he does. He like posts these. I'm not gonna dox him or myself, but post these videos on YouTube, and there was like an encoded message in his last video. He got a cat, and it had a fucking rainbow collar on it, man.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. That is very cool. I'm glad
Like,
you
has your dad been speaking to you?
It's like enough, you know? Like,
Yeah, has he been speaking to you?
we haven't really been speaking.
No. I mean, did he say I named my cat Twat and kicks it every now and then?
No, he didn't say that.
So I was thinking though, your mother said that it's a shame if she had that's hurtful, but it would have been if she had followed it up with but my daughter was born, that would have been cool.
No, that wasn't going to happen. And I mean, reportedly, I wasn't there, obviously. Reportedly, my sister was just like, that's fucked up. And that you're looking at this wrong and blah, 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 but, and if that's the case, that's really good. I have a brother and 3 sisters. My brother is dead to me and I am dead to him.
I guess was I looking at that wrong? Like when she said that, like, I guess you could take it a couple different ways, huh?
She was in mourning.
Yeah, but I guess it just depends on how she said it, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what's so silly about it? It's like you're still you. Her concept of you is different, but you're still you.
Yeah. So my niece said, "No, not your son. Your child who lives 2 houses away. You can go say hi to her." And yeah. Anybody referring to me as she or her to my mother in any attempt to smooth things over, that ends the conversation.
Right.
She is not dealing with it.
I was just watching an episode of Law and Order SVU a couple nights ago, and I want to say this episode's from a few weeks back, and basically the woman basically she's presenting male because she doesn't want people to know, but then she gets is murdered by somebody, and the father
Never fun.
Yeah, the father finds her, and you find out later that the father basically took cut off the nails, cleaned off the makeup, basically destroyed a lot of evidence, unfortunately, because their father was a cop, knew the cops would come, and was basically worried about what people would think and all this kind of stuff. And all throughout, is just very much not accepting, but the mother clearly was accepting and saying, "Hey, no, that's her, and her name was this," and blah blah. And then when it's looking like the person who killed his daughter was going to get away with it, he finally has a change of heart because he realizes that he's the one that fucked it up, and even though it means that he's going to have to pay the price for tampering with evidence and all that, he comes along, and then he tearfully, he finally accepts her and realizes that how wrong he was. That you love your child or not, does it matter? Your child's gender should not matter to you as long as they are happy.
I kind of want to check out this episode. I don't watch the show, but I kind of like want to watch it. It was
a really good episode.
Yeah. Huh.
Is that a new episode or is that one from an older
I
season?
some guy. I
It's from
some guy.
this. It's from this season. No, I'll get the episode name for you.
Okay, yeah, I haven't watched it a couple of years now, but I watched a lot of the older seasons. Personally, like them better. but-
Tommy from the Bronx over here asking about my vaginal depth.
That's not nice.
That's
It's 2 inches.
It's still bigger than your penis, Tommy.
oh.
Pew 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 pew.
Well,
That was pretty good.
Oh, it's called A Better Person,
Oh.
and it broadcast November 17th. If you have like Verizon or anything like that, or
Yeah.
anything that's got it on demand, you probably be able.
I have my ways. I'll find it somehow.
But yeah, it's called The Better Person. It was a great episode, and which is I'm glad because like I don't know, the show's kind of getting tired, and I hate episodes with her kid. I'm so tired of her.
Right?
And her kid.
Yeah, that's kind of why I gave up on
So is it
it.
episodic or is it just like I guess it can't it's just a vignette every
It's
time.
semi-episodic. It's kind of episodic, It's basically semi-episodic, semi-serial. So if a person dies, you don't see them again, right? Or
Babylon
if someone lost their hand, their hand would be missing in the next episode.
Right.
super serial.
And the characters do change. Like one of the detectives, she's leaving, and like one guy was a detective and he became a lawyer. He's still on the show, but now he's a lawyer.
Right. Yeah, that one definitely sounds up my alley. Because like I'm like my whole life is fucking trans these days, right? Like
Okay, so you know Zinnia Jones, right? I mean,
Yeah.
she's well, so I don't know her, but but I
All right,
remember
well,
you
she's a-
talking about-
she's
like
a
I read
friend.
her articles. She's great.
she's a friend. I've known her for well over a decade now.
Yeah.
And when we met, she was not Lauren. She was ZJ ZJMTV. Is that what it was? ZJMTV, the queen of YouTube atheism.
Oh.
And she had not transitioned and wore a lot of women's clothing, was just a very soft man. And people would ask all the time if she was ever going to transition. She's like, yeah, no. And asked what her pronouns were, and she was just like, whatever.
Right.
She mostly used he, but would answer to any. And then one day she transitioned. It was like one day it was just like, that's it. I'm announcing this. I'm trans. This is my name, and blah 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 blah. And her content on YouTube went from great debate community stuff to trans issues constantly, overwhelmingly. And a lot of the atheists that followed her and watched her stuff kind of started to fall away. And I remember thinking, I don't mind the trans content, but it has taken over her life. And my God, how ridiculous is this? Now that I've transitioned, it has taken over my life. You don't have a choice.
Yeah, like it's
You
kind
don't
of
have a
like it's almost something like you kind of want to like get through to get to like the other side of it or whatever.
Right.
It's
need
like
to be but the thing is, you need to be your own advocate.
yeah. It's so I get glued to stuff like that. Just like yeah.
See,
I've gone out of my way. I'm sorry, Joe. Wait one
Sure,
sec.
sure.
I have tried to go out of my way to not make like my entire internet presence about being trans.
Right.
I think I'm somewhat successful in that because I do talk about other things. It isn't like I don't want to be an activist like you. I'm finding that I don't have a lot of options in that. But I mean, the amount I put myself out there as an activist, I can rein in. I've had to walk away from local politics so that even in my IRL life, just being me doesn't become so all-consuming that I'm out there giving talks on stage because I would be doing that because
I'm
people
just
around
gonna
me want me
fucking
to do
own it.
that.
Like it's got me right now. I'm investing into it, and like I don't seem to run out of gas for it. So I'm just gonna fucking engage with it and fucking yell at conservatives at these fucking school board meetings and just like just do fucking what I can because like I'm fucking mad. Like the thing about it is like, yo, I traded in like the best privilege for like the shittiest one. Like I don't even get like normal
you did.
girl. I don't even fucking get normal girl privilege. I got to be like ugly trans. It's like the worst. It's like fuck, man. Like yo, like I'm like feeling the whole like yo, this. I'm like actually a fucking kind of a marginalized minority. Like, and I was like a white dude like the other fucking day. Like, and yo, I get the looks and shit. Like you feel it. Like fuck, man. This trans shit is some bullshit. Fuck this. I mean, I'm fucking doing it anyway, but like fucking like yo, the hate is fucking real. Like oh
you reminded me of a conversation I had with somebody not that long ago, and it was about no, what I'm lacking the word. Fuck. All these other terms are popping in my head. It's when we recognize the different axes of privilege and marginalization. It's usually applied to feminists, but it applies to really to anything.
Intersectional?
Intersectional. Thank you.
Oh.
Sir.
Oh wow,
So-
you're a bad progressive.
Yeah, I know. I'm old and my brain doesn't work very much well anymore. And they were basically trying to argue against intersectionality, and I was like, well, I can't understand because I'm like, okay, because actually, if anything, it makes more sense because they're basically saying it's not a binary position. It's not simply white and non-white. It's because part of intersectionality also takes in education, economic status, all these different things. So I said, so then that's actually more nuanced. So on those axes, it recognizes that a well-off, highly educated white woman probably has it better than a poor, uneducated white dude who lives in the sticks, right?
Right.
So it's actually better. It's more nuanced. And they said, oh, so does that mean that a black black lesbian trans woman has it the worst? I'm like, pretty much, yeah. I mean, pretty fucking much, yeah. So somebody, because so they're doing shit on the color axis, they're doing terrible on the gay straight axis, they're doing terrible on the gender axis, and a poor uneducated black trans lesbian probably has it really fucking bad right now.
So a poorly educated, poor,
they're dumb. That's the
black
problem.
lesbian trans woman with a birth defect in a wheelchair is
And homeless.
Homeless is the most oppressed demographic on the planet.
Pretty much.
Like there's
atheist.
Atheist, yeah.
I don't know. I was talking to Mike about this the other day. Like, when I was an out and out atheist, like I never felt the pressure, right? But like I get why people I feel the pressure as a trans person, but for trans, like it's more specific, right?
Yeah.
So like I don't get, like, I guess I never got it. Like, I get it now, but I kind of sit at this intersection kind of between, like, the atheism thing and the trans thing. Because as weird as it fucking is, there's, like, religious trans people. I don't fucking get it, like, at all.
I like
made me this way. God loves me this way.
Or, excuse me,
Fabulous.
not religious, theists.
Yeah. Well, see, I like what Henry Rollins said a long time ago. He was talking to he wasn't speaking to trans people specifically, but he was talking to because he's always been LGBTQ friendly, and saying it's basically really he was talking mostly to gay people. So like find a God who doesn't hate you. Well, it's like log cabin Republicans, right? I mean,
I'm a member. I'm a fucking member of the log cabin Republicans.
Yeah.
It's like an oxymoron.
I shit you, because I'm just fucking curious. Like, I want to fucking meet these people someday. Like, I want to go to one of their events and just be like, how are you real?
It's like a Jewish Nazi. I mean, it's like you're never gonna...
I know it was a thing. I know it has occurred, but like, it's just like, you want to interview them, Like
Andrew Sullivan's the perfect example.
Is he's LCR?
I don't know if he was
Hi,
ever
James.
strictly in the Log Cabin group, but he basically is a gay dude. He was very staunchly Republican. He was effectively one if he was whether or not he was in the group. And
Oh wait, he's on Bill Maher all the time,
yes,
right? Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
You know, and he did so much harm to the gay community and everything because he stumped for a lot of people who hated him. Like, dude,
Right.
they don't like you. You're useful to them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, and the thing is, there's room for fucking capitalists in the Democratic Party. You know what I mean? Like, there's fucking room for us. And I'm sorry to all you
What?
lefty motherfuckers, but like, yo, I'm not. I'm just not. Like, I'm sympathetic to a lot of those fucking issues, you guys. Like, I am. But like at the same time, shit's gotta fucking work, That's the thing.
Tommy from the Bronx saying religious Republicans for the win.
Yeah, I'm sure he means that.
Funny.
See one thing, listening to what you guys are going through now, particularly you, Autumn, and I use guys in the generic sense, not in the gender sense.
It makes it worse when you go apologizing about it.
Well, that was not for you. That was for the audience. That was for the audience.
Oh,
because there are people who get. I know neither of you care.
I don't.
I know there are people who get bent out of shape over it. And like,
yeah.
Guys is a generic term. But anyway, moving on.
I'm a dude. You're a dude. We're all dudes.
We're all
Dude, a lot.
Something that you said that kind of made me think about where I'm at myself and where I've been the last few years. Now, I'm not a trans person, but I basically
but you're Mexican.
Yeah, I basically over the last 3 to 5 years, I've basically come out black. Because here's the thing. I know, right? It's really shocking. See, here's the thing. I've always said, well, I shouldn't say that. I haven't always said I was, because when I was young, my entire experience of being black was negative, right? I was basically, the black neighborhood was wherever I was standing. And a lot of people wanted to kick my ass simply because, I wasn't like them. And I also got resentment from black people because, I grew up with my white grandparents and I was lighter skinned. And so it wasn't quite as bad for me as it was for them. And so that's why I identified with the Spock character, because he was the man of two worlds. It didn't fit in any of them except for on the ship. And so for the longest time, I avoided things that were identifiably black.
Like watermelon.
Yeah.
I told you, Raven knows this. I did not eat watermelon or fried chicken in front of people.
You wanted to be one of the good ones.
I would eat them, but I wouldn't eat them in front of white people till I was 35. 35. Because I wouldn't listen to rap music at all. I wouldn't do anything that was identifiably black.
That's kind of like being trans, Joe. Like, you kind of know what that is. That's kind of what that's like. Like, you don't do shit that you want to fucking do. Because
I had a 1980s playlist going on YouTube all day today. I was just on the computer, just had it playing in the background, and Lionel Richie had come on a couple of times. And at one point, Peach, who's in the room, she's just like, I hate him. I don't understand why anybody has ever liked him or why he was famous. And then leave the room. And the next time she came in, I said, I figured it out. He's a safe black man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing too is that yes, he made safe music. The thing is, he used to be with the Commodores before that, right? So he made more black music when he was in Motown, but of course he got famous, but it wasn't the same level of fame as when he did safe music. It was basically music that white people could handle. It's funky enough, but not too funky. And that's the thing. And so that's basically where I was, right? I was basically in that kind of cocoon of like, I can't step out. I would never, and even when occasionally there would be like a rap song I might like, I would never be playing it when I was at the light near people around. It was always like, I'm on the highway and there's no other cars around, right? Because
you're like that white guy from Office Space in the beginning when he's mumping. You were doing the white guy thing.
Yeah.
As a black dude. Oh man.
Yeah, very, very much so. And basically, so a friend of mine a couple years ago, kind of took me to task because he said, "Wow, man, you're posting all this stuff. It's black, black, black. You know, blickety, black, black." And I'm like, because I'm free. Finally, I'm free. It's okay for me. I allowed myself to embrace these things and not feel uncomfortable, and not feel odd or the odd person out. And
This is like what I felt like this year, like is what I did, or like 2022. It's like almost like, you know what I am is not wrong.
no,
You
not
know?
at all.
Like, and like the thing is, like, they fight you, you know, and it's like it like for you it would be like, no, I thought you were this, like, because like it's built into yours, right? Because what they're telling you is, I don't appreciate people like you.
Right.
That's what that bakes in to it. And that's like how I felt, like telling my fucking parents and shit, like, yo, they fucking laughed at me. They were like, thought I was joking for minutes. I'm like, I am serious.
Yeah.
You know,
And and I was at the point where when I first started hanging around, because I didn't grow up with my siblings.
right.
And while I've had black friends, I've never had a lot of black friends. I've always lived in predominantly white neighborhoods or mixed neighborhoods. And I'm an engineer, so there's not as many black people in that. It wasn't until I started hanging out with my siblings that I was even comfortable in a room of mostly black people, because I wasn't used to it. I grew up with white people who weren't comfortable in rooms full of black people.
Yeah, this is like the same, the trans support group. Like on the first day, I thought I was gonna get kicked out for sure, because like I sat down and I'm like, this is where the fucking transes go, huh? Fuck, right? Like, because like I had it built in, like all this way that they fucking believe about trans people was the fucking way I believed about trans people. Like I had that same shit. Like it fucks with your head, man. Like it is so liberating to be like, and I fucking still have it. Like when I walk into there, I'm like, yeah, we're just a bunch of fucking weird looking motherfuckers, and like I get it, but fucking it's what I am. You know? It's like what I fucking am. And like I'm just gonna fucking own it. And like that little fucking voice that's still in my fucking head and fucking loud as fuck. You know, like I'm just gonna have to work on that shit, because like the reality is, between religion and these motherfuckers, like these fucking conservative, like between all of it, right? Like it takes a lot to undo like that long of just being ensconced into it. And like
Indoctrination is very insidious.
that's like, it's like hard for me to hate them, because I get the indoctrination. Like I get it, you know. Like I like, I'm not like that smart. Like I'm not dumb as fuck, but like, you know, I've been there. Like I believe shit, you know, like I've been that. Like you can get out of it, but like it is fucking hard to get the fuck out of that. Like you have to like put in the fucking work, you know.
Yeah.
Like you gotta fucking try. Like you gotta want to be you that bad. You know.
Well, and you're talking about where you were before when you were closeted, and black people have an expression, "Go along to get along." Right. Basically, you put up with you eat a lot of shit sandwiches so you don't starve to death. You know, it's not easy, and I it's funny because I actually told my siblings not that long ago, we were hanging out together. I'm like, yeah, and that was, for once, I was like really like, wow, I'm just comfortable, and there's a whole room full of dark people here, and I'm totally comfortable, and like. This wasn't always the case.
Right. Like the thing is, like, I mean, I'm ashamed of like what who I was. Like I never was that bad, but like I'm not ashamed at like what I objectively was to the world. I never really was that bad as a conservative, but I'm ashamed for what I allowed myself to believe. Right. Like that's the thing.
I have a question. This might be kind of personal. I don't know. One of the first conversations that we had on video.
Don't. It fucking hurts, like, to even think about it. Like I'm not gonna fucking whine about it existing or whatever, but it's gonna be hard for me to look at some of my stuff. But the thing was, like, I wouldn't have it another way. Like, people kind of need to see it. Like, that's
Well,
the thing. People need
You
to.
put forward a description of what you considered to be,
I don't want
at least what you claim to consider to be, a healthy, I guess would be the word, relationship. And you were talking to Sister Danger, and she was like, "Oh, this is fucking disgusting," and I'm like, "Actually, I think it's hot. I don't know."
what.
You were just talking about like the whole the man and the woman and just the dynamic between partners.
Yeah.
And
So,
Sister
like,
Danger was like,
the thing is that that's from my female perspective. Like, what that is me.
right.
So here's something I'm curious of, because I don't know, and I've heard, at least I don't remember hearing you say anything about it. But now that you identify as a woman, are you attracted to men or attracted to women, or both?
We're
Why you want to date?
figuring
Maybe, I don't know.
some shit out right now. You know, I use Mike as a boyfriend simulator. Hi, Mike.
So I'm actually
But I
glad
like-
that you said that though about that's your female perspective, because it's just like, so you do understand exactly what I was saying that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So the thing is though, for me and my sexuality, like, you know how people can kind of have different sexualities, like they'll say they're pansexual, demisexual, or whatever.
Right.
So like I'm kind of all of those things, like, but like I'm different for different genders. Like I don't like appreciate the male form at all, but for some reason I keep falling in love with them. Like so like when I have an association with some guys, like I can get a crush on some guys. So like it's like a complicated thing.
So
Like
it's not
because it's
fun
like
to attract you,
I become physically attracted to them.
but it's the male energy, the masculinity.
Right. Like so it's like
Yeah.
it's different. Like so
Yeah, I
with
understand that completely.
with chicks it's more like of a carnal thing, like, you know, but I'm kind of demisexual with them too. Like I can't, like, in my relationship with my wife for like a long ass time, like I can't, like I, you know, she would get frustrated. Like she was very different than me with sex, right? Like we could just get out of a fucking fight, like having an altercation, right? And like she would be like, let's go to bed and fuck. And I mean, I get that that's kind of a meme to people, like where it's like fight sex and it's great, but that's not how it is for me. Like for me, like I can't sleep with somebody like that I'm fucking mad at, right? Like it doesn't work for me. I have to like we have to like start off in a good place, and then it's kind of like gotta go from there. Like I have to have that connection with people, like for me to like.
Right. Yeah, so it's like the demisexual side.
Right. So,
and that's actually one of the things that contributed to my lack of doing well with women, because in my younger days, because like I mean I was a horn dog, but on the other hand, like I needed that connection. And then by the time I had that, I was the friend, and then very often it's like, oh, you're my friend, blah blah blah, and then and then so that's why when people back a few years ago, people say, oh, the friend doesn't exist. Yeah, it kind of does. It kind of does. But that said, is that
because you can develop a bond that deep, I think. Right. Like I think you can. There is something like, I mean, I'm fucking satanic atheist, like I don't believe in fucking magic, but there is like a spiritual kind, like there is a thing, there's a fucking, there's a magic there, like with some people, whatever the fuck it is, and it can kind of work. So like it's kind of annoying because I'm on these fucking dating apps, right? And like, like the trans chick memes are fucking real. Like I am appalled at men. Like I want to kind of like experiment and things, but like they make it so hard. They are so fucking bad at it, and like they like I don't get the privilege of having the fucking cis chick like pretty girl thing like this. Like I'd love to say that my experience is the same, and maybe it's similar, but it's not the same because when you're a trans chick, they want to fuck you because you look like me, not because you look like that. And I'm like, and these constant fucking battles with like a variety of people that want you for one kind of fetish or the other, right?
Mhm.
Like, you know, do you wear girls' underwear? And you're like, bitch, I'm not a fucking cross-dresser weirdo like you are. You know, like that. Like I didn't get into this shit for fun.
How many rants have you seen me go on Facebook?
Oh my god. Like, but it's different. It's different when it's you. Like you can read about it, but like when you experience it, it's like, holy
But it's
shit! Like
not-
it's real. Like
It-
what the
it's-
fuck is up with you people?
It's not men from dating sites for me though. It's cross dressers from
Yeah.
Facebook who are like constantly hitting me up, and they're like, you know,
Because they think they're like you. They think we're like they are, right?
Right.
Like,
and I
because
have no problem with what they are though. You know what I mean?
I have
It's
like no fascination with clothes at all. Like I have to work at this shit. like you know what I mean? This is fucking work for me. Like I'm not a girly girl. Like
Well,
at all.
that's why I've joked around with my wife. I'm like, yeah, you know, I could never be gay or a trans lesbian because I'm like I dress like shit. I had no fashion sense at all.
I'm getting better at it though. Like I am. Like I'm like kind of getting proud of myself.
Okay, so since this topic came up like all by itself, very organically, I'm going to say, if you like what I do here on YouTube, please in the link you'll see in the description rather, there's a link for my Patreon. I am saving money for next month, not next month, March actually, for my birthday to treat myself, and I'm gonna get a mani and a pedi, and I'm getting my hair done again, and I'm getting eyelashes and my legs waxed, and
Yeah,
that's it,
bird.
man.
Don't
I'm,
know.
I'm doing going all out, getting a total tune-up.
So I really
Help
need
me out for my birthday.
to get hair did.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, donate to Raven. Like we are pro e-beggar here, so don't say
We are
bullshit.
pro. Yeah, we are pro. I mean, but I am. I am the girl. I'm more of a girly girl than Peach. And that's, you know, we joke about that and stuff, and it's fun and it's funny, but like when it comes to like, you know, I do this. Like I don't do this all the time, but you know, if I know I'm going somewhere or I'm going to be on camera, I'd do this, and I do it very quickly. I've gotten actually pretty good.
I've gotten pretty good, but I do not do it quickly. I am fucking
15 minutes.
slow.
Well, the thing is with Peach too, she's just got the natural beauty thing going on.
Yeah. Hey, fucker.
That was good. That was good. Job. Very good. That's right. That's right.
I told her the other day. I said, like, you know, when I first found her on YouTube, I'm scrolling, and I see, you know, her thumbnail was her face, and I was like, hey, who's that? I got to check her out.
Yeah, my first interaction with her, I was asking her. It was a joke. It was some kind of running joke about wrestling and Richard Coughlin and stuff, and she never answered me. And I didn't tell her until like years later when we were a couple. And she was like, I feel so bad. I never even saw it. But like I've seen her Facebook, and she has like hundreds of messages that are just left unread because it isn't humanly. I mean, I'm like that with my one Facebook account. It's not humanly possible to talk to everybody. The people that are looking for your attention, you can't. You can't.
Yeah,
My
there's
notifications
a lot
are
of
going.
weirdos on there. Like
There's a lot of fucking weirdos on there. Yeah.
It's fucking weird. Like
Yeah, the only time I get random women hit me up, I know their stock accounts trying to get my data. So.
I gave Raven shit before this, like before I started all this. Like, oh, you know, she was whining on fucking thing, you know, like, oh, I'm just getting so much attention. It's so awful. And I'm like, bitch, oh, fucking tell me about a fucking problem. Like, but no, it's like kind of a thing. Like, it's kind of fucking annoying.
Well, a friend of mine said recently, like, I don't even remember which friend, but somebody said to me like they had noticed like somebody, it wasn't Raven, it's somebody else that I know that had transitioned, and they were like, now all their friends are all trans. I'm like, because they can talk about trans things and not have people judging them or giving them shit about it, and it's a way to commiserate with all the crap they have
Right,
to go through.
because you don't want, because like you kind of just want to fucking take a breath, you know, like with just people that get it, like, and I will say this though, even when you're with trans people, the thing I notice is like I feel like there is differences in trans people, like not everybody, like they have that whole like slogan, not everybody's, like everybody's journey is different. Like there's a lot of truth to that because like I don't feel necessarily connected to a lot of trans people as deeply as I thought I would, but even still, like you're with people that have to interact as the like with the world like this, and so like on that level, it's just kind of nice that you can, yeah. So you joined this trans women shit posting, did you?
Yeah.
Joe?
No, I didn't.
You should.
You should. So okay, I was it the I don't know if it was the support one or I think it was the support one. There was somebody had posted a thing saying that they are, they're on hormones and they're suddenly having a really bad day with a real deep craving to get pregnant. And it's like that's not a thing. Stop it.
So like that's the thing, right? Like there's a debate even with the mods. Like I am such a queen shit poster on the fucking internet. Like I'm for fucking 4chan bread, okay? Like I know how to fucking shit post like with the fucking best of them. Anyway, I got promoted to moderator on that fucking thing. Like even like the mods and shit like are like kind of iffy. Like I know this IRL trans chick, right? And she was like, I'm having cramps. And I'm like, bitch, you are fucking nuts. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, but you see, these are the people that Blair White pick out
Yeah.
and blow up. And it's just like, yo, you're not having your period.
Well,
You're
so like
not.
I looked it up, like, and apparently a lot of trans chicks do this shit. So like there are like some weird shit, but like this is like an internal problem. Like
But okay, so your whole body runs on cycles, right? So what happens with certain hormones, not all of them, with certain hormones, for trans hormones, your body gets into a cycle with them, right? And when it comes around to the end of that cycle, which is, I think, if I remember correctly, about 24 days, you might, because I had for a short time when I started taking hormones, chocolate cravings and cramps.
Sure, you can,
and it didn't last long. And boob pain.
You can't get like mood changes and things. That's not what I'm saying.
But here's the thing: is a lot of trans people are like, oh my god, I have my period, and it's like, no, you don't.
What do women? The first thing they shout out with glee after a fucking hysterectomy because they don't gotta fucking put up with that shit anymore, right? Like, bitch, you're talking to a trans chick. You're like, bitch, you don't have a fucking uterus. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so like.
It's just
like sometimes I get it because like some trans people, like first of all, my biggest gripe with trans people is like, we are whiny as fuck, right? Like about every month.
Whiny.
Yes, we fucking are, bitch. Oh my god,
I am not whiny.
But like,
whiny.
Like,
I can't believe you would say that.
Like what I mean is like, the whole fucking hey you guys thing, like the fact that there's enough fucking trans people out there that whine about shit like that is fucking annoying to me. Cause I'm like, now like everybody, because I'm in a place, I've got to fucking apologize for that shit. Like no, just fucking be normal and like, fuck man.
Like, so yeah. That one I was talking about, right? I feel like I need to get pregnant, and it's just like you're horny,
right?
And that's fine. We all get horny, That's not the same as wanting to get pregnant. So basically, what you're doing is you're saying outwardly, "I'm a bottom, and I want someone to come inside me
like it's
That's what they're
the problem
saying.
is like what we're doing. I acknowledge it's kind of problematic because I'm denying someone's lived experience. But like sometimes,
But it's not a lived experience if they're
no,
inventing
but
it,
like
though,
I
Autumn.
I know, but like that's right. That's like how. But like when you kind of like have to
It's
interact.
George Santos.
George Santos. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck it is. Dizzy.
You're dizzy, right? Could it be the socialized expectations of what it is to be female? Yeah, to an extent. Diz, yeah, absolutely. That could be part of it to an extent. But I mean, there's also high school biology class though, and a lot of that stuff would have been covered.
See,
So
yeah, like I know that trans people are kind of they're supposed to have some uniformed opinions on some of this stuff, but like you know
yeah,
what? But the thing is, like I'm still a fucking individual, and like I'm not like a rubber fucking stamp, and like I'm in this fight, and I'm a fucking activist. But like the thing is, like I have my views too,
I am
like
with a lot of what I talk about when I
it
talk
lies in
about.
just the nuance of like how I perceive these things. I'm on the right side of virtually everything, but some of the nuanced stuff when you get into it, like there's a reason that I support trans women in sports, and it has nothing to do with how it looks because it is a fucking jarring thing, and I'm not gonna fucking deny it. Right? I get it. But like the thing is, we have to cultivate an environment for kids to be able to transition earlier, and we have to have a path and a destination. And so like so like I have a different way of seeing it. Like we have like it's like not actually hurting anybody is the thing. Like Sally Sue didn't fucking lose her scholarship to wherever the fuck because the trans chick beat you up, right? Like you know what I mean? Like none. It's like sports are less important than lives, and like when it's tantamount to being able to have acceptance, like we have to kind of fucking do this. So fucking get in fucking line and fucking do it because it must be done. Like that's the thing. So like,
Right.
but I noticed that like a lot of people get into the minutia of the whole fucking like bone density thing and the strength thing, and I'm like none of that fucking matters. Like you have to see the bigger picture for why we have to do it, right? Like it's not that I'm gonna deny that there's not some like weird shit because like if I do, then like that's denying that I'm seeing the fucking same world that they see, and I see it the same thing, and I want it to be seen the same. Like
So when I discuss, like we were just talking about cross dressers and thinking that everybody on the trans spectrum is a cross dresser drives me up the fucking wall. When I do discuss that, I make sure that I say I support you, new cross dressers. I support you. I support what you want to do. I'm with you. I'm just not one of you.
Hmm.
Right.
It's like I make sure that I provide that extra. Hey, I support you. Like I don't dislike you. I don't have a problem with what you're doing. I just don't want to be asked every 5 minutes if I dress for fun when the woman is out. I
So
mean,
that's the thing is that they think we're like they are and we're not.
Right.
Like that's the only problem I have with them.
Right.
And like
so
I don't
when I discuss it, I
they can do that with each other, but like I'm not one of them.
Right.
Like
And I mean, a lot of other issues. It's really the same thing. Like, there's a lot of things that I don't say on the interwebs because the trans, community, will, it's like Knives Out, right? I mean, it's, forget about it. Like, there is no such thing as nuance.
I wish that the left, like, there's a couple of things I wish lefties would do better with that, because like kind of coming into these spaces, right, like isn't very welcoming, because like lefties tend to be more spiteful, right, and they tend to they tend to purity spiral more. Like the right happens to be doing it at the moment, but like lefties tend to do it more consistently. Like they make it feel like I'm not liberal enough, right? Because I would dare suggest that
You're
like
not.
like that I believe in a fucking strong market economy, you know, like as being necessary, unfortunately, right? I'm sympathetic to their ideas and I want to incorporate those things. I believe in a mixed economy, but like, you know, but sometimes lefties kind of just like it's just not good enough for some of them, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, man, like cut me some fucking slack. If you would have fucking knew me like before, like I think I should feel good enough, you know, like.
Well,
But
and you're right. I've encountered that myself. And there's certain topics that I don't even talk about as much as I post stuff on Facebook. There's certain things I completely avoid because I just don't want to deal with the argument or the backlash.
right.
And to your point about even just like the market economy thing, there are people I've had to block. There was this guy, some random geek who was on who's on Steve's Hangouts, Steve Shriver's Hangouts on the end of the month, and basically misrepresenting my position, and then have people screaming at me that I'm some horrible, terrible, exploiter because I have a business and with employees, and so therefore,
like
I'm like,
man, like you're playing the game regardless. Like even if Joe was a fucking out and out fucking communist, he still lives here.
right.
Like that's the thing. And so you know what I'm fucking talking about with those fucking people. Like they just make it really hard sometimes, you know.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is like I remember you saying to me, because obviously, look, you and I have had some knockdown, drag out, mostly me screaming at you, but so you know where I'm coming from, what I'm about to say, but when you took your steps, you actually messaged me and said something basically to the effect that you were surprised that I embraced you. Especially after all the things I had said to you, some kind of nasty things, quite frankly. Well,
I'm surprised I embraced her. So,
but the thing is that because one thing that to your point, one thing that we're really bad at on the left is when we tell people that they need to change and stop believing their right wing, ridiculous things.
They're cynical,
and then when they do, they're like, oh, well, it's too late. Like, it's like, well, do you want people to change or not? You have to give people leave to change, or why would they ever? Like,
they're bad at giving grace.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, look, and what pisses me off the most about it is if you looked in their past, I bet you would find that they weren't always so wherever they're at. Because like what I realized about myself, right? I had to examine my own life. I am far. I'm not a leftist, but I'm far more to the left than I ever was. I am more, closer to feminism and as a man, I feel I never feel comfortable calling myself a feminist. I mean, if a woman wants to call me a feminist, she says I fit the bill, great. But I think it's kind of, I think as a man, you're always going to have some biases that are going to get in the way and maybe not make you as good of a feminist.
Like, there's somebody that would jump out right now and then tell you why, like, it's not okay to feel that way, or like you don't have good reasons for feeling that way, and that's what I'm getting at.
Right.
Like,
but at the same time, there are people that would tell me that as a man I can't be a feminist, and I actually don't even really disagree with them.
That's kind of well, yeah, but like you see, and I would interpret that as kind of being worse, right? Like that. It's almost like you're not allowed to have your own nuanced view.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So think about that. We have people on this side of the fence that will both tell you these two competing things. Well, they both can't be right. Either men can't be feminists or men have to be feminists. Those are diametrically opposed ideas held by people on the same side of the political fence. So my thing is, if you think I'm a feminist, great. I accept you calling me that. If you don't think I'm a feminist, that's fine. I can live with it.
See, the goal of feminism is equality. So by default, there are certain issues where the feminist position would be this position that supports the rights of men.
Yeah, sure. Oh, I agree. But again, I don't care enough about the moniker to fight for it or fight against it.
Right,
Yeah.
but to say that as a man you can't be feminist makes no sense when feminism encompasses some men's issues.
Oh
See,
yeah,
this,
but I
so
guess
the
the point is that as a man growing up in a society where I've been indoctrinated into misogyny and sexism and all these things, that as feminist as I might think I am, my biases may get in the way of me being good at it at
being
times.
less
Well,
perfect,
I mean,
right? Like that's the thing. You're being less than perfect, and like
Well, like I said, so I'm happy to wear the moniker, mind you. So I'm not saying that if you call me a feminist, I'm not going to tell you no. But I guess I leave it to other people to decide for themselves whether I am or not.
right. And
And
so
it's kind of
the right wing is able to exploit this is the problem I have with it, and so I don't even care to ignore it because I like there's kind of an impulse in me that says like it's not wise to talk about these things, but the truth of it is it's not going to fucking hurt to talk about these things, and the left is not as cohesive as the right. And the other thing that bothers me about the left is it doesn't understand the right in the same way that it understands itself as a bunch of subcategories and groups with different interests. But the right is kind of like that too. It's not as fractured and it's like in larger chunks, but like they misascribe and they kind of misunderstand right-wing thinking on a lot of things. So like they kind of talk around each other a lot, and like they don't they don't actually understand conservatives as well as they think they do, right? Is my problem with a lot of lefties, which is not useful when you're trying to win, right? Because like having a little bit of empathy sometimes can be useful because like you can try to change people's positions, right? Like at least those people that want to try to get better. And sometimes like they can't it's like it's like their own activism gets in the way of their own activism sometimes. Like
for sure.
like, fucking
I mean,
take what you can get, man. Like here's a person that's fucking trying.
Well, I know. I'm sure you see me screaming at Kate, for instance,
Right.
over the very kind of like my way or the highway, taking my toys and leave kind of leftist view of like, hey,
she's really hard.
Yeah, you're in a country where only roughly like while the and I said recently that America is a country with leftist liberal ideals, even leftist ideals, but conservative values. Because people, people will say things and oh yeah, they're if you ask them, hey, are you for a universal healthcare system? It's like 60-70% of the people are for it. But do they vote for that? No, they don't, because they don't want to pay. They don't really want to pay for it because we're kind of a selfish people. So,
even though it would be cheaper,
I don't know that that's true because I don't believe that the situation is such that the right wing representation actually represents the interest of the right wing. Like, because if that were, I don't like what I think it is that their own elite have cultivated a system whereby their own rank and file, in exchange for their right to maintain their bigotry, like it's like an otherizing cyclical position, like basically their elites can point at the migrants or like other marginalized people as being the problem, and their rank and file is happy to accommodate that at the expense of getting their own ass rammed, like in their own taxes, right? Like I think I said it the last time we got together, but it's still on my mind. Like that math problem meme that's floating around Facebook about Elon Musk, where it's like, if on the day Columbus landed in the New World in 1492, if on that day you were to somehow live from then to now and earn $200,000 every single day, you would still be $5 billion short of being able to buy Twitter. And
Yes.
like when you think about it in terms like that, right? It's not that I don't support a market, like I support a market economy, but like I don't support this.
Right.
Like
right.
I passed 3 homeless people that were crack addicts that we cannot help because they're just crack addicts, and we think that that's okay. Like when that guy bought Twitter, like this is kind of out of control.
Yeah.
You know, and like I don't think that like identifying that and kind of like helping people out makes me not a fucking capitalist, you know.
Jeff Bezos sent Captain Kirk into space, and we've got people on the street that can't eat.
Right.
Yeah, that kind of dichotomy. It's just like, this should not exist.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing, though, is that the sad part is actually I hate that argument too, though, because we actually can do all of those things, and we actually, and because here's the thing, the
Nobody said we shouldn't, though, Joe.
Well,
nobody. I'm not saying
okay,
I'm mad that they can do it. Like I'm not mad at actually even wealth inequality. I don't have a problem with people becoming monstrously wealthy.
Right.
Like, I don't care.
It's the extreme.
That's not my problem. My problem is that there are people that are hurting and they're not getting the help that they need.
No, I agree with you. My point is there are people who do the thing that, well, like every time we, there's a probe to Mars or whatever, and people are like, oh, we're doing that, we're not doing this other thing. But we can and should be doing both of those things.
Right.
I know you knew that, but a lot of people don't. Something you hit on earlier that I think is important that the left doesn't get. While the right wing isn't a complete monolith, they are a lot better at putting their stuff aside to get what they want. The left is not strategic, and we are because we're a more diverse group. It's a lot harder to get us to go along, and that's why you get like people like Kate, who are like, well, this person isn't the 100% solution, so I'm going to go, fiddle while Rome burns. And I'm like, yeah, but the thing that bothers me the most about it, because when I heard people say this, and they'll say, oh, well, the Democrats will learn, or this, or the Democrats will see. I'm like, as if they had no stake in the game, right? If the Republicans win, everybody who's marginalized suffers, and a lot of people who aren't marginalized suffer.
Thank you,
But
baby.
it doesn't come down to simply the Democrats versus the Republicans. It comes to fascism and not fascism.
But this is really like why I wish I would have earlier spent more time thinking about the ranked choice thing, like as being a potential solution to kind of remedy some of this stuff, because it can only work. I believe it can only work in our favor, the liberal position, because I think it damages the like this really allows for more specific and nuanced perspectives, and I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, it allows for further growth on the liberal side.
I think we're coming to a point in our society where we really need to consider ranked choice. Like I think we kind of almost hinge on moving to accommodate the necessary change that we need through a system like that, like through a voting system like that.
I've been advocating it for a few years now.
Yeah.
When I ran for office, it was part of my platform.
Yeah.
And I mean, the other side was shocked. They were just like, you are really willing, once you get elected, to fight for a system that can eliminate you? And I said, yes.
Yeah, at least for the primaries, right? Like at least for at least to define what Democrats are in a primary, maybe if they could do ranked choice within you get what I'm saying, so that it's I like it.
Oh yeah, I mean, and actually what I like even is it's a form of ranked choice. It's a form of of alternate voting or instant runoff voting, where it's not ranked choice, it's basically pass fail.
Mhm.
So you just say you have 5 candidates. You vote yes for any candidate that you're willing to put up with, and then whoever gets the most yeses wins.
Right.
In this way, so if you say you like to vote green, but you really don't want the Republicans win, you can vote green, you can vote Democrat, you can vote.
So, but it incorporates the same kind of thing, though. But I don't
Right.
know that would lead to as much change as people like. Because like the thing is, like I understand the perspective, and I'm a liberal, right? But like the thing is, like I also get why more progressive leaning people than me would feel agitated about certain things, like not feeling like they're not getting their way enough or fast enough.
Well, here's the thing, though.
This might more help.
Pass fail helps more third parties come forward, because because you with a ranked choice, you can vote for all of them, but I think if you're literally liberal enough to say, hey, these are the 3 I'm comfortable with or relatively comfortable with, then people can, and you're literally voting for multiple people, and you're saying, hey, any and all of these are okay with me. And so I think the parties that are really, really marginalized right now can actually start to get some traction.
Yeah, like that would be, I think that would kind of help ease some of the tension within the left leaning side.
Ranked choice, or even that one, both systems of voting does reduce, and in places that they've already implemented either of these, is already shown that it reduces the power of party politics.
Yeah, right.
So that alone, I think, is a good reason to.
I can't think of a good reason to not do it. I can't think of any reason that doesn't. I mean, I can think of good reasons why it would be fought.
Well, I know that there's a question of constitutionality when it comes to, like, one person you vote once, and technically speaking, a ranked choice or even a pass fail vote is multiple votes.
Yeah, but it wouldn't inhibit states from structuring their voting systems like that, right?
Unless it's incorporated into the state constitution. It really depends on what's sitting.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. The voting, and even for with the exception of the president, our voting for the our representatives, in the House and the Senate, that method of choosing is actually determined by each of the states individually.
Right.
So states could do. In fact, that's Maine has done it for a while now. Oregon has done this. It's been challenged in Maine, and was that?
It's that way for like one, but isn't it like the House? It's the states. How does it work? Like the Senate has to be uniformed, right? No. Isn't there one that got changed? No.
And in fact, like I said, Maine is doing it now, and they actually had an election decided by it, and I think Alaska has it too, and it's been challenged. The constitutionality has been challenged, and it's survived both times.
Sure. So, okay.
And because that's the thing. I mean, hell, I think I would probably. I mean, I'd probably still tend to vote more for Democrats because I'm not a leftist. I mean, I'm on the left, but I'm not a leftist. I think the Green Party is they have about 50% good ideas and 50% like wackaloon ideas. But I'd still vote for that. I still vote for the Republican. What's that? I didn't hear what you said. Could you repeat that? I couldn't hear what you said.
I think he's fallen asleep, and we're getting the reverb or the echo.
Who were you asking? Was it my computer making a noise? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought you were saying something.
No, it must just glitched for a second. I apologize.
You're useless.
I am tonight. I know.
The other thing would be nice is then the nice thing is if third parties started winning seats here and there, well, we could end up with coalition governments in the House and the Senate. Where You know, no party has a majority, but I mean, we kind of do a little bit in the Senate because we have two independents, so actually three now, and they all caucus with the Democrats. But it would be nice to have that as a kind of a regular feature.
So
You know-
before I forget, I wanted to my last point, like that it bothers me. It might just be my perception, but I think they engage in lesser, lower level politics than their right does consistently. Like when I go, and I've had I just noticed that, like, as from like both sides, I've noticed it from both. It's just like they seem to just want to party more, and like they don't.
So my perspective is I believe that before the rise of the Tea Party, most local government was mostly Democrats. And Democrats they held, it's like the librarian teacher type, right?
Yeah.
And lesbians, were in a lot of like townhouses and stuff, town governments and local governments and stuff across the country. With the rise of the Tea Party, though, a lot of them got swept out because it's that angry populism of the right, that kind of upended everything way back then. And I think
it really kind of does mark like a specific point. Like I see, I guess like two tiers, right? So it was kind of LBJ when he won, right? The right had to regroup, and they fucking got with the evangelicals. That was like phase one of like it was like the first like where they started going nuts, right? And then like now in 2016, you can say that that's sort of like a definitive marker where like the right took like its next step towards
earlier,
towards like theocratic fascism or something.
2008.
2008. Like I guess because it's like the response to Obama.
2010. Yeah. 2010.
So like that's like what that is a response.
We had President Blackenstein.
Right, because it was kind of like
hit its peak.
Nobody wants to say it, but the truth of it is like this is a kind of a white supremacy thing, right? Because
it is a white supremacy thing, yes.
So.
Well, and this is the reason why and I've said for a while, the reason why they're getting more hostile, more violent, and more out about everything they do, and they're saying the quiet parts out loud, is the demographics are moving away against them. The country is becoming less white, less Christian. What's it?
It's a hell of a drug.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the country is becoming less white and less Christian, and they see the writing on the wall, and so they know
it's like a weird thing to build your identity around.
Well, see, this is the funny part about it. They rail against identity politics, and all of their politics are built around identity.
All politics are identity politics.
Right, but I mean, they complain about it, but that's all. The thing is,
that's all they do, right?
I mean,
I used to kind of understand their point and where they're coming from. Like I've changed my position, but like I'm trying to think of like why I couldn't see it, and I can't like really grasp like how.
So
I figured it out
because you were not in the minority. I got it. A friend of mine, I won't say his name just in case he ever sees this, but he's always talking about how like where he works, he worked for a while there. He was working in an environment where it was predominantly black and people were not nice to him, and he says, "Oh, see, it's all the same." Like you don't understand the difference. Like that the likelihood of that happening, the number of times that happens is so remote that and also that the people that were not being nice to him wasn't fair, but they're also reacting because they're used to what they get, and so I mean, it was less like you didn't have the perspective, you didn't have the context.
It's a different world. Like you're in different worlds almost, right? Like you don't.
Well, when John Edwards said there was two Americas, he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, like you get kind of like even when like there's a reason you stop being a Christian, right? Like because you don't fucking believe it, but it takes a while. Like they're like when you kind of go through those sort of like mind fucked.
I
Because that's
I left the
kinda
church
what it
at 16 and left. I left the church at 16 and left belief at 36.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Like, yeah,
okay.
it takes a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't remember what I was gonna say. Oh no, January 6th. On January 6th, the insurrection, there was a noose, right? There was a gallows noose, set up outside. People were standing next to it, near it, right? The people who had resurrected it and they built it,
Yeah.
and they were going to get Mike Pence, so they thought they were singing Christian songs while they were hanging around this thing.
Like, what do we fucking do with these people?
Well,
So-
like I said, they are dying off. And actually, before we mentioned ZJ, and this is the thing, I never actually did the video, but I've said it to other people. There was a video that she made years ago where she didn't understand there was people that, like, okay, technology is allowing us to live longer, right? And there are people who think that we should kind of limit that, like we should, make it so that we live longer, but we should never make it that we could be immortal, other than if we get hit in an accident or something like that, or commit suicide. And she didn't get that. But I do, because here's the thing. Just imagine, I mean, it's hard enough dealing with that like right wing, like pro-Confederate mob that exists now, who believes the fantasies of old. Imagine if those fuckers were still alive.
I know. Like, there is actually a cool sci-fi show that kind of covered this. It was on Apple TV, and I can't remember the name of it. But they had this like system in place where the emperor was a triumvirate of himself that was cloned, right? And so they would live
Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Right. It was like they would live on forever, right? And like it was menacingly accurate to what, like, if you like thought it through to like what that would be like, it would look like horrific as they depict it, like these huge, kind of like think of a cathedral, like an homage to the fucking emperor and the system. Like,
So,
it was really good too.
the other day, I had this thought. Pete and I were talking, and I had this thought that people my age, me, you, we are of a certain age group where we can easily, within our memories, remember and think about the world that we live in and our immediate environments and how different they are, now and in the past, and that the differences are massive, that there's these stark different realities where younger people, right, their world experience and their world, their memory of when they were young and today hasn't changed as much. And it made me feel really old. But I mean, it's like I remember, like, you see, on TV, like in the 70s, and they're showing these kids playing and stuff in the 70s, and the way that they played and the things that they did that kids don't really do anymore. Or at least it's not the same.
Well, see, here's the thing. Bo the Fifth Column made a video about a month ago, and I agreed with his premise. It wasn't exactly accurate, but he was making the point that, because people always say that people get older as they get more conservative as they get older, and he was challenging that and saying, well, it's not that they get older, it's that the society becomes more liberal, and so that they're stuck on the ideas from before. There's a lot of truth to that, but I think people do. A lot of people do become more conservative. Now, I've actually become more liberal as I've gotten older, for the most part. And certainly you have. But the thing is that, but Bo raised a good point, though, is that basically the world moves on. Like, there was a video that Peach made a long time ago that I always remember, and it actually had to do with race and stuff like that. Obviously, she's mixed race, I'm mixed race. So she had said how little it matters to her, and she was taking Halle Berry to task. Halle Berry, also a mixed race person.
One drop.
Yeah, the one, and Halle Berry said, well, she considered her children to be black because of one drop rule, and that made Peach cringe, And I totally get where Peach was coming from, because like that's the one drop rule was used to marginalize mixed race people, and and not to, it didn't exalt us, certainly. But the video I made in response was, I said, yes, I think that Peach is right, but Peach is like 10 years younger than I am. So she grew up in, with sensibilities that are 10 years younger than mine, whereas Halle Berry and I are very close in age. So growing up as I did in the 70s and 80s, yeah, that's, that was the mentality I've grown up with. And in part also because I grew up in a world where if I, it's funny because I've had white friends ask me if I identified as black or white, and I'm like, do you think I have a fucking choice? Like I grew up in a world where if I were to say I was a white dude, the same people who ask me the question, if I say, well, I'm a white dude, and they go, really?
Right.
So whereas, Peach has a younger, and like when I was young, being mulatto, and again, that's a word no one uses anymore, but I still do. But being mulatto, meant that not only did I get resentment from white people, but I got resentment from some black people. Now that's not really a thing anymore, and certainly wasn't really for Peach when the impression I got, at least from Peach, is that it wasn't when she was a kid.
Sure, it's a thing in some places.
So that's because, again, she grew up in a world that was a little bit better than the one that I did.
Right.
And so this is the thing that the right wing is afraid of, because, if you think about like the Gen Z is way more friendly to LGBTQ and way more leftist and way more all these things. And some of them will moderate some as they get older. Some of them will become conservative.
But well, I mean, for all of their lives, though, they've had access to you,
right.
to me, at the click of a button.
Right.
It's always been there. And like I said, one of the things I had said to Peach was, when I was a kid, if I wanted to play a video game, I had to find somebody with a car.
Right.
See, you
couldn't just sit down and play a game. You had to go to a place.
To an arcade.
I focus on the material shit, like their positions don't offend me. Like when it comes to, not wanting to spend money or whatever the fuck. Like the thing is, like those positions don't offend me. Like it's this social shit that like it's like they do that thing where it's like, how far does this go? And like in my mind, the only place it can go is to like where people aren't punished for being who they are. Like once it gets to that point, that's as far as it goes, right? Like that's as far as you can go. So like what is so bad about going as far as it can go?
See, here's the thing, because to them, you're a challenge, right? Because that's why they always bring up the children. They don't care about the trans children. They care about their own children, because they don't want their kids exposed. Because in their addled brains, they think it's like a disease that you could catch. You could catch the gay or catch the trans.
It's a disease that is spread through exposure.
And they're right.
Exposure is typically in the form of words.
Me.
Right.
Well, it's a disease that's spread through exposure, and that exposure takes the form of words, which is why you can't say gay.
Right. Well, and this is the reason why, again, there's another video that Bo did. He's like talking about how when conservatives say about, it was somebody else that did a video. He's a teacher, and he was saying that, conservatives have this idea that it's all like liberal and leftist teachers teaching kids to be gay and be everything else. And he's like, no, we don't need to. He says, they don't listen to us. They talk to one another. They talk to one another.
It's okay to be gay.
Good morning, class. Good morning, class. Now that the principal has left the room, please disrobe.
Right. But it really comes down to, that younger people from different areas can meet each other, and then they learn that all that stuff they were taught was wacky isn't so wacky. Like, hey, because I actually met a gay person or a trans person or a black person or whatever it was, and the black person didn't have horns or a tail.
And
they
this is why
this
is why Texas is trying to have a firewall built around Texas the way that China has, where they can control who can see the internet in their state and who can't. Yeah. And they want to have age limits of like 21 to be able to use the internet.
see the truth with them, with the godly ones, is like in my experience, is like even they can't imagine like a person that would say, even if God were real, right? I would do what I'm doing and I would fucking answer for it because I'm fucking proud of like what the fuck I did in spite of all of you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the thing. Like they have to have on some level some kind of fucking admiration for that. And it fucks them up. I've kind of noticed it. Like, because I can fucking stand here and say it with certainty. To do this for what I am cost me everything. Okay? Like, so they know it and I fucking know it. And like, I did it anyway. And if like it challenges that I can't exist, because why the fuck would anybody do this if it wasn't a real fucking thing?
Right.
Well,
that's the thing. When they try to say that, it's like same thing with when they say someone is gay, is like just choosing to be like, why would anybody choose the ostracization and the all these things?
Hey, I like ostriches.
Well, one thing before I forget, something when we were talking about the emperor that lives forever, one of my favorite speeches in any movie is the speech at the end of The Great Dictator, Charlie Chaplin. And one of the things he said is, as long as men die, liberty will never perish.
Right.
Because that's the thing, the dictator can't live forever. Those people with these horrible ideas can't live forever. And that's basically what happened in the old Soviet Union, right? People living under this authoritarian rule. Yeah, there were collaborators and people, but basically, as the old guard, the true believers, all started to die off, the people after were like, this kind of sucks. We're seeing this now in Iran, right? Basically, it's like as the old guard's dying off, the younger people are like, this fucking blows, man. I want to get out of this shit.
Yeah, like, and rightfully so. Like, yeah, man, this fucking world, like going through this shit will fucking change your mind about some shit, like
there's I was thinking about this recently. As much as there's cool things that I experienced in my life, like there's a big part of me wishes that I was born 20-30 years later.
Yeah, I feel that, like, because like I don't want to have any kid to have to fucking deal with the fucking shit I'm dealing with, know?
Right.
Like, in fact, that's kind of like, so I got involved. Like, I'm actually on the fucking board of a fucking gay nonprofit. Fucking believe that.
Nice.
Fucking me, right? And so, like,
I was just compared to when it was about 3 years ago that we first started interacting.
I don't think it's been that long. I think it's just been like over a year.
Nah, it's longer than that. It's been most of COVID, I thought. It wasn't. Well, maybe it's 2021 because it wasn't that long after.
Yeah, maybe a year and a half, a couple of years. So I don't know, whatever. Anyway, a lot of change in that kind of time frame. But
you can play that Black Sabbath song. I'm going.
I mean, like, like, I don't want to feel shame about it forever, but like, what am I supposed to do?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you were who you were, or you were, or you lived, or you were the person you needed to be to get through, right?
Right. That's kind of how it feels.
When I went to that Women of Color Beyond Belief thing in Chicago, one thing I said there early on, we were having a discussion, and somebody said made me think of it, and I said, look. I'm here because I'm trying to support, and the thing that anyone who doesn't get it has to, or is trying to get it, has to understand that we all had these biases, and so I recognize now that I'm far less sexist and far less all the bad things that I used to be. I'm not going to say it's all gone. It's a work in progress, right?
Sure.
But I had to it's difficult for people because they one have to accept that they're wrong. That's people have a hard time admitting that they're wrong. But then the way to get past the guilt is really just saying, hey, but I was wrong because I was indoctrinated. I live in a society that's sexist and racist and homophobic and transphobic and all these things, and I was fed a lot of bullshit. And it wasn't until I had to learn something else. I had to learn that those things weren't true, and that took work. And again, so I had to be willing to do the work. So I can't. I can apologize for who I used to be, but it doesn't mean anything, right? Because like I can't. If I hurt anybody in the past, they're hurt. Like I can't do anything about it.
And you can also like feel and touch like the way that they think. So that's the thing I struggle with like now. Is like because I'm like loaded with internalized transphobia. Like you can't fucking believe it. It's the worst, right? But like that voice inside, right? The one that's constantly yelling this shit that the fucking world yells at me, like that is something I have to fucking live with. Like when it comes to like any position, like the truth of it is like I don't actually have the leftist position. Like I have both positions at the same time, right? I have elected to drop the false one, but it's still there. Like I understand. Like it's like I have an index of right-wing thinking.
So you're functioning under cognitive dissonance then, because that's creating that problem within you.
Because like when you go this long, this dysphoria shit like legit causes like derealization symptoms. Like it's kind of like schizophrenia for real. It fucks you up. Like because you like know like because that's the thing, and that's why dysphoria sucks. Because like think about it, like when you're really this, but you're trying so hard to be something that you're not, right? Like you really get like aggravated when you fall short of living up to that ideal.
A while back, you had said something that I mean, I immediately like latched onto because it was like, yeah, I know exactly what this is. Where you had said that you were going through a lot of the things that you think and a lot of things that you believe and a lot of things that you feel and trying to figure out what's real and what's invented for the persona that you had to live, every day. And I mean, and I get that so much because I mean, I do the same thing. I still do. And there are things that are just that you don't even think of. It's a funny thing, that I use to kind of like show people. But it's true. Like there's a thing that men do when they're out in public and they see other men that women don't do this. Men do it. And if there's somebody walking towards you and you don't know who they are, right, you nod downward at them as you walk by. If you know who they are, you nod upward at them. And you keep walking. And if you're a guy and if you never notice that you do this, next time you're out and about, pay attention. You do it. And I've actually had to try to break that because it's just like it creeps me out that I do it.
So,
but it's a learned behavior, though.
So you're socialized a certain way, right? And so, like, I won't ever have a cis chick's experience or whatever, but like, I know what I am between my ears, like, and like the thing is, like, yeah, I'm gonna be more fucking boyish. Like, I've been a dude for like 40 fucking years, yo. Like, what the fuck, But
50.
Yeah, right. But the thing is, like, I'm not aiming to be a cis appearing chick. I'm aiming to fit into society without getting fucking gawked at and try to just fucking live, right? And like, I think I should be able to fucking do that. And where I live anyway, I'm having a hard time reconciling if I can actually do that here. Like, I've met this amazing network of people. I'm really fucking proud of it, actually. Like, because I went from replacing literally every fucking thing in my life, and I've met some really great people. Like, and I don't want to leave them, but like, like it's gonna have to be a judgment call on where I'm at in 5 years, like with HRT and surgeries and stuff. Because the thing is, like,
Mm.
I've done it. Like I've picked up a fucking pizza. Like I'm in boy mode right now, but like I've been out in girl mode, like to fucking do an errand, and I'm like, yeah, fuck this. Like I need to move my ass to Seattle, where this shit is fucking more normal.
I
more
am.
thing, you know, like I feel it.
I'm in Trump country, and I do feel uncomfortable to go out, but I still do. I do all the time. I make myself do it. I don't. I've caught people looking. I've been hit on. Um, One of the things that I do is though I walk quickly and I look down. And I'm not that I'm a small person. I'm not. I used to be. Anyway,
I get it.
um,
On it.
hey,
I think I look better than I used to, so I got that.
I was 136 pounds not that long ago.
That is something
I'm
you want to get back as soon as possible.
That's not happening.
Yeah, you can do it if you want. Like, you can. You
So
really
hard.
can.
I know, but it's really hard. But
You know.
but I'm not that anymore, right? But I still feel like you have the approximation of the space that your body takes up, right? And I still most of the time I still feel pretty small, unless I'm actually next to a small person, then I feel like an ogre. Yeah, it's just the way it works. Anyway, so I mean, I move quickly and I look down. If I was, a larger, more masculine, more lurking, kind of a hulking kind of a figure, I wouldn't be able to do that because that would make me stand out more. Yeah.
I get it. Wanting to blend. I'm just kind of not gonna. I'm just gonna do my own shit. I'm taking HRT. I'm gonna get as feminine as I fucking can that I can afford, and I'm gonna kind of like androgynous boy mode this bitch until like I'm baking in the oven until like I can look in the mirror and fucking be like, all right, they should be fucking calling me bitch by now, right? Where the hose at? Right here, right?
So
Like,
just remember that there are women, cisgendered women. B. Arthur is somebody who existed.
I'm still gonna express my femininity, but I'm just like gonna just fucking keep my head down, do this shit, wait till my kid graduates college, or it's not college, but like wait till both my kids are in college. And once they're in college, like depending on where I'm at, so he's 14, right? So like when he's 18,
Yeah, you're 5 years.
like yeah, exactly. I can kind of get a good assessment, like, yo, is this working out for me here in Colorado Springs? Because the thing is, like, Colorado Springs isn't like living in the South or anything. Like, it's not that kind of bigotry. It's like more sophisticated here, right? It's not, it's very, it's hard to explain because it's this mix of like a lot of military defense contracting and engineering firms and high tech, and like, so it's like this weird sort of like you can't get away with being like, the backy's spitting redneck that you might be like from wherever the bum fuck you come from when you come to Colorado Springs on your military tour. But like, it's there, you know what I mean? It's there, but it's obscured. And like, they'll let you fucking know in their own way. Even the fucking people you work with and shit, that they don't fucking like your kind. They just have a different way of saying it. So yeah, I'm really thinking about like having to fucking move. And that sucks, but like, we'll see where I'm at, I just feel like it's just not worth trying to, like, it's not worth it for my, like, that's just my life. Like, I'm an activist and shit, but I didn't fucking get into this to be a fucking activist every fucking waking hour of my life. And when you're like visibly trans, right, like, and you go out as you, that's what it feels like. It feels like, yo, I've got to like it's like I'm going to work. Like I got to do this thing because I got to fucking pay my bills, right? Like it falls in that category of like dread.
It's
you
like
know?
defending your life.
Yeah. Like, so I get it. I get why people fucking migrate and shit. I totally do. Might be me. We'll see.
There's a point in American history called the Great Migration. Basically, as the Jim Crow laws started to slowly, they were a little relaxed a little bit, just enough so that black people had freedom of movement. Because initially, literally, you couldn't even leave where you lived, and a lot of people left and went to Chicago, went to the West Coast, and went to that's why Detroit looks like it does. That's why certain cities in the West Coast look the way they do, because basically they said, you know what. Because at one time the population of Alabama was like 2/3 black, but then people were like, you know what, we're the majority and we're still getting shit on. Let's get the fuck out of here,
Right?
Because it was just not tenable. It just wasn't.
Like it's like I don't have to move so far away. Like there's safer areas for me, and it's not so much a safety issue for me as it is just like a being comfortable issue.
Right.
Like. I feel like I'd be more comfortable in a place like Boulder or Denver, right? Or more comfortable in Los Angeles or, just anywhere like that.
You deserve to be comfortable.
Right.
You shouldn't have to live your life constantly like.
Because the fact is, like, I could probably beat them up. I can beat up most dudes, Like, I'm not that afraid of, like, a physical or altercation. Like, I'm more afraid of, like, either getting shot or just getting stared at. Like it's so shitty. Like it's so shitty. Like it shouldn't have to be like this.
No.
Anyway,
I'm gonna end it there. Everybody okay? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna end it there. Everybody okay with that?
Sure. You're gonna go? Are we doing after or no? I wanted to talk about D&D. Can we talk about that first?
Oh yeah.
So I want to be a nerd. So I have only ever tasted D&D.
You're not allowed.
I have only ever tried
D&D. Do whatever she wants.
You're too tall.
and so Joe has graciously almost agreed to
be a nerd,
a GM, so we could do like a virtual Dungeons and Dragons game. So we could like try it out. And so we're looking for players. And I already signed up AOD because he doesn't have a fucking choice.
Cool.
And like, I don't know, I'm more curious if Raven is interested, because what we're thinking about doing is like actually doing a stream of us playing Dungeons and Dragons, like once a week or once every other week or whatever.
I don't know how to play.
Nobody knows how to play. We're going to figure it the fuck out. We're going to be nerds. We're not nerds. We're going to be nerds.
I am a nerd. I'm just not a dungeon.
No, you're not a nerd. I'm an OG nerd. Trust me.
I want to do it. Like it sounds fun. Like this is something that I wanted to do forever. Like, and I just have never done it.
And this is one of those things that's kind of funny. Like I told my wife about this. Like I am glad that people are no longer ostracized for doing things like being gamers, playing D&D and all this kind of stuff. Because back when, you were a weirdo back in the 80s if you did that, right? But I have to admit, there's a small little bit of me that's resentful because it's like, but I had it so hard, But here's the thing, and this is what I'd love to, as much as I can't stand him anymore, but I'd love to talk to Dave Chappelle because I would tell him, okay, see, I told him like how you're mad that Cassius, that Muhammad Ali got shit for changing his name and being who he was, but you're bitter at Caitlyn Jenner because she didn't suffer as bad as he did, and that's the wrong attitude. You should be mad at the people who made Cassius Clay go into Muhammad Ali, make Muhammad Ali suffer. Don't be mad. Be glad that Caitlyn Jenner didn't have it as bad as Muhammad Ali had it.
Right.
That's progress.
Right.
But he doesn't see it as
Like,
progress.
I get it. I get
Being
why
a
you
white person.
because people like me are like, I want to be a nerd. Now there's like no problem with being a nerd.
Yeah.
Like I totally do. But
I-
like
and
I,
the-
I
and
you
here's
can
the thing.
celebrate it too, because like, yo, I kind of want to do that, and that's pretty cool, right? Like,
Well, and the thing is, and I've gotten over it too, because I did for a while. I was resentful, but here's why I got over it. Because here's the thing: one, it's better, it's a better world, right? But
Right.
two, what it is see now, because I guess what it was, there was for a while there, the Johnny Come Latelys, the same Gen Xers who used to be nasty to the geeks, were suddenly I'm a geek too. I'm like, fuck you, you weren't in any of the meetings, you know. But see now with millennials and Gen X, it's like, no, you guys were geeks. You guys were always on board with this shit, so you're cool, you know. It's really like just like I'm not a Doctor Who fan, but I remember the people who are friends of mine who were Doctor Who fans. Again, they were like ultra weirdos because Doctor Who was really fringe,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then when Doctor Who started getting popular in the early 2000s and 2010s, and then all these people coming out of the woodwork, oh, I've been an OG, you know, bullshit,
I don't know
bullshit.
shit.
You weren't. There were like 5
Shit.
people in North America like
Doctor
Doctor Who,
I
you
don't
know.
fucking thing about Doctor Who.
Yeah, but, you know, but yeah, so I'm glad now, and I actually ran a game for YouTubers. Shit, it was back when it was Rith Randall, what's his name? Abby was in it. CJ was in it.
Yeah, Abby Bueno.
No, Abby Normal.
Oh, Abby Normal.
So do you like because is it like because I want a LARP. I want to fucking.
Well, LARP is a different level.
I want to do it. Like that's what I want to do. I want to be like a little Smeagol demon thing. Like I've already sorted out my gender shit. So
I
now
LARP.
something fun.
I LARPed as a man all my life.
No, you got to be like a troll or like an elf or something.
I was.
But
You
yeah,
do remember me, right?
Was
I
he
think
one
that'd be fun.
one
It would
person?
be fun to do that, wouldn't it?
See, one person that I always wish would get into role playing games, but he doesn't even see the point of it, is Steve Shives. And I'm like, dude, you're an actor. Role playing game is acting. It's improv. It's improv.
That's
And
like
but
like the fun part.
the whole medieval fantasy thing he just thinks is ridiculous. But I'm like, all right, well then do a sci-fi game. Right? Let's do a sci-fi game. Let's do a Star Trek or a Star Wars game.
Yeah,
or one of
I
those.
could do that. Just anything that's in that kind of
Yeah. But he didn't want to do any of it. I was like, man, because the thing that makes me sad about it is because I think he would be good at it if he tried it.
In
I've
1984.
I've seen Steve skits where he does the acting, and he's funny as fuck. That guy.
Exactly.
He's fine.
Exactly.
In 1984, I was part of a group that played a game called Robotron.
Oh yeah, I remember Robotron.
It was similar to D&D, and we had to draw our own robots. And because there was the hit points and everything else. I wasn't in the group long. They got mad that I drew a lizard that was a cyborg, and they're like, "That's not a robot." I'm like, yes, it is. Damn it!
Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be fun, like to like. I don't know if Raven would be into it or not, but she's sounding like not. I think it'd be fun, and I think we should get.
I mean, look, you got you and Mike. I mean, I can do a campaign around 2 people, but it's better if you have like 4 or 5.
Yeah, like we'll find a couple other cool people, and like we'll
And
that shit.
I guess I would say this, Raven. Even you don't know what you're doing, but that's okay. No one knew what they were doing when they started.
Right.
And I've been doing this since 1981, 82 time frame. Here's my geek cred. I got married at the Ren Festival.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So it was funny too, because my wife and I were playing Baldur's Gate, and I don't remember how the conversation got started, but because it's actually funny when you mentioned LARPers, the kind of like the snootiest of the snooty LARPers are the SCA people, Society for Creative Anachronism. These are when they give each other ranks and they do battles, like mass battles, and there are people who are like they have kingdoms and all this kind of stuff. And I made a comment about how there's kind of a schism between the SCA people and the Ren Fair people, because the Ren Fair people are really tend to be laid back people. They tend to be hippies and stoners, and they're really easygoing, and they're all about having fun. And the SCA people are really serious. And so the Ren people
Are they like D&D cosplayers or something?
in a way, yeah. And so the SCA people see the Ren Fair people as not serious and just being kind of like dilettantes, and the Ren Fair people see the SCA people as like having sticks up their asses and taking themselves too seriously. Right. So we were talking about this. We're playing Baldur's Gate, and then like 20 minutes later, we were kind of quiet because we were just playing the game, and out of nowhere, my wife's like, "What do you think about getting married at the Ren Fair?" And I was like, I hadn't thought of that. And I started thinking about it because, of course, my first thought is like, well, what would our friends say? And I'm like, well, I knew all my friends would be cool with it because they're geeks like me. But then I thought, well, I don't know about her father. Her father was kind of a reserved. I don't say he was conservative, but he was a reserved type of person. Because he was, he born in 1922, right? So he's got an older, mentality. And I was like, well, run it past your father, see what he says. So she calls up her dad the next day. And she brings this up, and he's like, "I know a place where I can get a costume." And I'm like, "All right, we're doing it," And yeah, we got the legal marriage done. We just went to the mayor of the town we were living in at the time, but we actually had an actor who just had a Friar Tuck looking thing going on, and we wrote our own ceremony, nice. And he performed it. We had wandering minstrels. We had belly dancers. We had a real juggler and a comic juggler.
Yeah,
it was a fucking blast. And the guy who was the caterer was somebody who normally did like pig roast. So he had these big ass grills, and so he made food to order. Because most of the time, restaurant wedding food is terrible, right? It's shit. But this was made to order, all grilled food and fresh fruit and everything. It was amazing. Right. For years, people even occasionally, I still have friends saying, "You guys should do a recommitment ceremony and have her do it again," because it was such a fucking great time.
So, the woman that I'm friends with, I'm not going to say anybody's name, but she does the long rants and it's like whatever, and the one that drove me to the hospital. She is in SCA, and she was explaining to me how they have the entire country is blocked off into realms,
right?
Like where we are, it's like the land of the woods and the thing. It's some ridiculous name,
right?
But she is actually a higher up for our realm. She has like certificates and stuff, and she's like really into that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird. And the other thing I wanted to say was,
I don't know that it's weird.
What?
I don't know that it's weird. A lot of people are like way into it. It's like a hobby for people.
But weird doesn't mean anything other than it's not really the normal, usual.
It's not typical.
Nothing wrong with it.
Oh, yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to say was I wanted to have Peach and I, because we can't legally get married. I wanted to have a not tying the binding ceremony. Hand fasting. Thank you. That's what it's called. Yeah,
we did that.
Wanted to do that, and we wanted to have Aaron Ra officiate. He said he would, but we were supposed to do that a couple of years ago, and we ended up canceling it because of money, and then COVID. So eventually, we're going to do that.
Well, if Aaron is unable or willing to do it, I will. If you want me to, I'll be happy to do it for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
I won't take offense if you decide not to, if you have somebody else, but I will be honored to do it.
Yeah, but he looks so devilly, though. Like, if you can get him, you should totally try.
Oh, Aaron's awesome. I mean,
too.
Like, he's doing the same shit I'm doing with the TST. Like I totally fucking get it. Like, I get why he's doing it.
Oh, yeah.
I love Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron's awesome. Well, that's the thing that's kind of funny because, like, I was in an argument with somebody, and it was in his thread, and somebody was like, I said, well, I had made a comment that he was a friend of mine, and they were like, oh yeah, no, you're just some follower on. And I'm like,
yeah,
his family has stayed at my house twice, and then I tagged him, and he's like, and he basically came in, and he's like, yeah, leave my friend alone.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, I've cooked for him, so I'm just like, if I cook for you and you didn't pay me,
I've never met him or anything, but I'd
Yeah,
like
a couple
to
of
meet him at
times.
some
I
point,
met him a couple of times.
you know,
Aaron's
he's-
I saw him back in July when I was down in Texas.
you know, just like you like to give people like that a thank you for being who they are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, Aaron's awesome.
Thanks for fucking fighting this fight because, you know, like we need it.
Absolutely. Well, and that's interesting talking to Aaron about all this stuff because I remember I had a conversation that we had. It was he and his wife. We were in my car and we're driving somewhere, and he made the point of how like there was a point. In fact, it was a conversation that we had like a few years earlier, where he did not understand like why someone's racial or ethnic identity would matter to them.
Right.
And then 3 or so years later, he's like, I get it, because it's not that you choose it, it's that everybody else makes it a big deal of it. So you have to kind of, because that's what I told cis people when they attack trans people about like, well, why is it such a big deal? I'm like, they don't make a big deal about it. You do. You're the one that make it a big deal. You force them to have to care about it.
Yeah, that's
Forced to be activists.
like, yo, can we just let us fucking be and do our fucking thing? You know, let us look how the fuck we're gonna look. Let us fucking live. Like, yo,
When I ran for office, I was running as openly non-binary. Oh, I am echoing right through your computer.
Sorry about that. I might have to drop off. I got a bunch of weird warnings on mine, so that's causing.
Well, that's because you're useless. Okay.
Sorry,
Love
you guys have a good night. Thank you.
right?
Hey,
Night.
I ran as openly non-binary. Hey, it's the stripes. There we go.
No.
And I have a friend, a trans woman in town, who was also a teacher at the school. And I remember her when I had the deli. She used to come in before she transitioned, and we would talk for hours about like history and stuff because she's a history teacher. But back then, she was like a surfer dude, and we just bullshit forever. So bumped into her after she transitioned once at the Pride Festival here in the county, and then after that I started running for office, and I bumped into her at the bank, and she was just like, glad you're running. I won't. She's like,
Yeah.
I'm not an activist. I don't want to be an activist. I will leave that to people like you. I just want to live my life.
I know, and I get it, but like, yo, like the thing is, I can be, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm a person that can be. So, like, I'm not gonna run for office or anything, but I'm gonna fucking speak and I'm gonna show up to shit and support people and fucking clap and scream and do all that shit. Like, at least.
Point at buildings and yell at cars.
I'm gonna fucking
There's too many videos of me screaming at people on YouTube for me to run for office. But then again, I don't know. Then you see, this is the thing. You got guys like Trump and you guys like fucking Chris Christie. It's like, they kind of open the door to fat bombastic assholes. So maybe there's hope for me yet.
I used to do Chris Christie. There was a hurricane. It was like it hadn't hit us yet, right? But they were closing everything down. And he gets on TV and he's like, I better not see a single, like, dude, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Right? He's like, I better not see a single car on the road. You have no cars on the roads. And for years, I used to have her like in stitches because I'd be going like, you have to remove das autos from the roadway. Only the Twinkie truck can come to Trenton.
That's great.
Happy Martin
Removing
Luther
das
King
autos.
Day. Happy
Huh?
Martin Luther King Day, everybody.
Thank
It's almost
you.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of take the whole day off, but then like, opportunity popped up, so I had to churn out some quotes. So I did that, and then I went back to like not doing stuff. But yeah. So back to what you said about D&D. So here's the thing, Raven. So basically, role playing games work like this. the game master, which is typically me because I've been doing it for a long time, will basically describes the scene. They basically, because they're kind of a storyteller, so they describe what's happening around you, and then you tell what you want your character. So you're playing a character. They have some capabilities. They could be a warrior type. They could be a priestly type. They can be a magic, like a wizardly person. They can be a rogue or a thief.
I'm going to be a cleric.
Was
I
that?
want to be a
I'm gonna
bard.
be a cleric. I looked into it.
You could be a bard, and then you, based on what's going on, you decide what you want to do, and then you could decide, hey, yeah, we want to leave this city, we want to go over there, and what I like to do is, over time, like I used to kind of do things kind of more linearly. Now, because I've been doing this a long time, I try to leave things more open, so I kind of through, just like in the real world, like you have many choices, so I'll throw out little hooks to say, you could do this and you could do that, and you'll hear rumors of different things, and you guys can decide for yourselves, hey, that sounds interesting, or oh, maybe let's go over there and see what's going on, or something completely different. And like one thing that was a big eye opener for me as a GM was, I don't know, I guess I was in high school, and I had this plan for this long mini campaign of like a whole bunch of stuff was going to happen, and I planned everything out to the nth detail. And I presented it to the characters and the players, and they just weren't interested. They just didn't want to do it. And then I on the fly created all these reasons why it would be really bad if they didn't, and they still didn't want to. And then then all these things that were going to be punishing to them if they didn't do it, and they were like, nope. And I was kind of mortified because I'd spent months working all these details out.
They just weren't interested in the thing that you were interested in, and that fucking hurts, man.
Yeah, and I was so traumatized by it that to this day I could not tell you one single detail. I threw out all my notes, and I don't remember a fucking thing that I had planned.
Oh, man, that sucks.
But it was an eye opener for me. It was because I realized, because here's the thing: a lot of GMs get into the thing of that's their story. It's not. It's the character's story. You are the story weaver, but it's the characters who decide whose story it is.
So that's I was kind of wondering about, like, how would that work? Because Mike and I were talking about this when I said that I signed him up for D&D, and he was all mad, and he didn't, and it doesn't matter because he's going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But like he was saying, like, he used to play tabletop games, but one of the problems that he had was, like, it's almost like you're kind of steered by the GM, right?
To a degree.
But like he said, it was like fighting like he could tell that the GM was fighting his inputs to try to steer it to a certain outcome.
Yeah, and that's an inexperienced GM. And I was more like that when I was younger too. So, but again, I learned these lessons. So now what I'll do is just say I present a situation, right? A lot of times I'll throw out things that are going on that are happening in the larger world around the characters. Now they can completely ignore it, right? Because but basically I've got like, okay, if the players do nothing, this is the sequence of events that's going to happen. Then I try to anticipate things they might do, and then I create a tree. So it's like kind of almost, it's like a node map. It's like a decision tree. Then when the players, depending on how they respond, I will update the tree. I'll give you a good example. There was this one, I set up a situation that was kind of a ruse. It was there to, basically one faction was trying to frame another faction. So they went off and they were being contracted to go kind of exact some revenge for what had gone on. And then something about it didn't smell right. They kind of picked up on it early. So then they used their skills to figure out that, actually it was bullshit. It was bogus. And somebody was setting these guys up. So then what they did was they actually communicated with the people that they were supposed to, wipe out, and then said, hey, this is what's going on. And they cooperated. And then, so they discovered the plot in a way that I hadn't anticipated. So I had to go back and adjust, because now the enemy, of course, an intelligent enemy, they're going to react.
Right.
But it
because the
was
GM has to both like anticipate and prepare,
Right.
and also be prepared to scrap shit that they really like. and then-
absolutely
right.
a good GM will be prepared to scrap things that they really like. They might have there's a lot of it, but at the end of the day, if and that's the difference between a good GM and a bad GM or a weak GM. A weak GM will do what we call a plot hammer. Will basically force you, like put up all these walls around you to make you go in that direction. That's not. I won't say that I would never ever do it again, but it would only be very limited and for specific things. Generally speaking, I don't like to do it because it generally takes away the agency of the players.
It
The
takes
players
away
like, I'm
for
trying to
the
do X. What's that?
player, but I could see how you would like if you like it would be like if you get into a place where it would be disappointing for the player to not do something,
Right.
Like I could see how it would be hard to
Mm.
not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
Autumn had brought up LARPing earlier, and I've been wanting to say this for a while, ever since she brought it up. In the private chat, you'll see I left a link to Camp Sacagawea, and they do LARPing. They actually have their own Ren Fair, but they do other kinds of stuff there, and there's always like LARPers and stuff. It's almost like it's like a venue for that. It's 200 acres of woods and lakes and all kinds of stuff, and
Nice.
they've got a medieval dining hall, and
Cool.
and I say that we should take up funds and maybe
You wanna do
work
some
on doing a meetup
You want to do
like
some
in
shit
the
like
old
that?
days,
Sure.
and see if we can do a LARPing meetup. Would
Yeah.
you travel for that, Autumn?
Like so here's the thing, like when I get my fucking shit together, I will, but
Well, it's
like
not tomorrow.
you know. But yeah, my when is it?
Whenever, I don't know.
Oh, you can just go whenever. Yeah, like I would fucking totally go.
Well, yeah, we would have to like organize it through the camp, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of like a thing they do. We can organize it so we could do like maybe like a 2 or 3 day thing, like a weekend.
Yeah.
And they've got rooms and they've got food and they've got the whole deal. So
Like maybe in summer.
Joe and I have actually, and it was more Joe than I. Joe and I have actually organized a pretty decent sized meetup in New York City for YouTubers from all over the country that came.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun. It was mostly Joe. But it was Joe and I.
I'll bring AOD. Like, he'll be my plus one, and he'll hate every second of it.
There you go.
And then I want to go meet Nikki Firesnow too in Virginia. I want to meet her.
But I mean, it wouldn't be free.
No,
it wouldn't be free. There would be this kind of a thing takes quite a bit of organization.
Sure.
But, oh my God, we haven't had a meetup.
Yeah.
That would be long. Well, if you fly to Newark, Newark Airport's like 10 minutes from my house. I'll pick you up.
Hell yeah, I would be on. I would totally do that. When I get my shit
I should talk to Eric and see if Eric would be interested.
Yeah, definitely. One thing, because Eric, I know Eric plays D&D, so because really quick to answer Nadia, no, D&D is not trying to turn into a subscription service. That's new OGL has a lot of people believing that, and a lot of people are freaking out. But I looked at it, and then I watched a video by Legal, who's a lawyer, and what legally basically backed up what I was thinking, that no, it's not that. But and to Redneck Atheist, as far as on the rails, I agree with you. There are a few small exceptions, but like one of them is there's a classic adventure where the players do all this thing. If they get to the final battle, it's not intended for them to win the battle yet. So basically, they create a situation where it's virtually impossible to not get captured.
So
and it leads to the next adventure. And I think that next adventure is one of the best adventures ever written. So for that exception, just because it's like really cool, it's kind of like you know, kind of because it kind of strips away a lot of the toys and a lot of the pretenses, and it's really becomes a battle of skill and wits, and I like that. So I would run that adventure again, or at least I would consider running it again. And that's one where you kind of get rails. But the thing is that the goal gets you to where you want to, you know, gets you to getting, you know, to basically, you know, eventually defeating the enemy that captured you and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I think that's definitely pretty cool.
So there is some kind of controversy though that's going on right now. I follow Jim Stephanie Sterling, who's like a non-binary trans chick that has a YouTube channel. She's like hugely popular. She covers like video games and stuff, but like from a very like lefty kind of anti-capitalism against the industry kind of view that's kind of interesting to listen to. Anyway, she had an episode today or yesterday, it might have been yesterday, that talked about like Wizards of the Coast or some shit. Like
Yeah, that's what Yvette was, not Yvette was just talking about.
Oh,
yeah, it's like I said, it's a gross misunderstanding of what the OGL is actually saying.
no.
But unfortunately, it happens to be a popular view to the point where a friend of mine, and Raven, you might have seen me post about this on Facebook when I talked about the person who sometimes you can show somebody the evidence and they desperately.
Oh, that's what you were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where someone says somebody desperate, because basically this is a friend of mine from college, and it was something he's been concerned about. So Legal did the video. I posted it and I linked it and I tagged him and said, hey, check this out. He got like a quarter of the way through the video and then basically decided it wasn't, you know, he didn't want to watch it. And then, and even there, I would have been irritated, but that would have been fine. But he made some snide remarks to me. And I was just like, now you're making it fucking personal. And that's bullshit. Because I wasn't like gooping on him. I wasn't making fun of him. I was trying to get him off the fucking ledge.
It's also like, why get personal over something like this?
I don't know. It's weird, and I don't get it. But the thing is that once people get upset about things and they get entrenched in that position, you know, sometimes it's very hard to get them away from it, and they'll do everything they can to fight it.
It's hard for me to imagine getting upset about something like this in this way, you know?
Yeah. Well, again, this is, and I talked about this on Chris Mowdy's stream a couple of weekends ago. You know, actually, it was on the 29th of December. The reason why I've kind of left fandom, is because fandom is so toxic. It's like I like things, and there's things, you know, I'm looking forward to the Ant-Man movie, and I'm looking forward to this and the other thing. But I've kind of
started.
What's that?
Don't get me started.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it looks good, right? And
oh yeah, it looks awesome. But
okay, so now you've gotten me started. Joe was talking. Come on.
But I've taken a step back on it because the people get so invested in things that they actually don't have any part in, like sports especially. I'm sure you know of people getting in fist fights over sports teams that they're not on. Like I'm not. The Mets are the team I follow, and the Mets are the team I support if I support a team. But I'm not on the fucking team. I'm not on the roster. None of those people know me, nor do they care about me, right? So my happiness should not be destroyed because a bunch of millionaires that I don't know lost the game.
So like
so wait. So that variant of Kang that is in the, you know, Ant-Man
yes,
you know, quantum realm, he makes a deal with Ant-Man.
Yes.
Did you catch that?
Yeah.
He offers him the one thing nobody else can give him. And it's like, holy shit, he can give him that.
Right.
Fine. The one thing he wants more than anything because he missed his daughter growing up.
Right.
I saw that and I said, oh shit, Ant-Man, he's the one that unleashes all the shit.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, man, if the movie lives up to the trailer, this movie is going to be fucking awesome.
It's going to be awesome. Yeah.
You know?
And it's like, character-wise, I was thinking about that. Like, that makes sense. Because you know, he spent all that time in prison. He's a dorky, goofy, not serious. You know, he's not the guy that's gonna have the discipline and be like, yeah, no, I can't do that. That's the wrong thing to do. He's not gonna do that now. Right. He's like, that's right. Slip me 5 years right here.
Right.
You know, I'll get out of your way. Just let me 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's so cool. But yeah, I mean, and this is so that whole thing with what's going on with Wizards of the Coast and what everybody's freaking out about, that just it really kind of firms my position about that fandom in general is toxic. Well, especially like there's okay, this currently they're on the 5th edition of D. They're really on the 6th edition when you count original D&D, and then actually more than that when you count basic and expert and all that, whatever. I won't get too far into it, but there's tons of different versions of D&D over the years, and people have their favorites, right? Whatever. And there are people who argue, and it's one thing to say, hey, I like this version because of this reason, I don't like that version because of this reason, but people who have like fight arguments as though this is objective truth over which version is better, and it's so stupid. Like you like what you like, you don't like what you don't like.
Sorry, 1 minute. I
never heard of Nightwish.
dealing with an unsupportive family member on text. Like, I wish it wasn't that.
But
And
so Raven, you said you might want to be a bard. Bards are cool.
I don't know. Bards what?
Basically, bards tend to be what we call face characters, right? They tend to be because they tend to have very high charisma. And they tend to be like the face of the party. They're the ones that does a lot of the social interaction with others. They also have a reputation for being con men.
Oh, okay.
Because they have high charisma and they come from the thief class, subclass. So they tend to be able to run a con and trick people, which also means they tend to be good at disguise and performance, and they usually play an instrument of some sort. And they actually have the ability with using their instruments that they can have impact on combat. So they can choose not to actually wade into combat, but play their song, do their performance, whatever it is, and that actually has an impact on the battle that's going on.
So what about a muse?
I gotta check. I don't know if that's a character class, but if it is, sure. I don't know. Or that we'd have to make up rules for it, but that's the cool part about playing. That's the cool part about a role-playing game, right? It's like, you do whatever you want. But I think that it's fun. Like it's fun to kind of step out. It's fun to step out of yourself. What's that?
Autumn, what are you on?
what's that?
What are you on?
What do you mean? What am I on?
What are you typing on?
What are you typing?
MacBook?
No, it's a Messenger, is a Skype.
No, your messenger service.
Right now I'm using my messages app it's for my text messages. I'm text messaging with
Whoop, whoop. And I was like, I know that. What is it? It's
the same noise as the iPhone.
Oh, that's why it sounds familiar. I don't have an iPhone anymore.
Yeah. I think Android people are weird.
My wife had an Apple iPhone for a while, and she hated it. I hated it. But you're not one of those people that like line up to get the new iPhone, are you?
No. This was the previous generation, and it does more. I'll have this until basically what I look for in a phone is the longest possible battery life I can have, because I'm bad about charging it when I should be charging it. And this one is the super large one. And this fucking thing can go all day and then some. And I'm not a heavy phone user, but I have that whole paranoia about not having battery life thing. I don't know if you guys have that, but I do.
Well, I use I've got a Note 20. I had previously had a Note 4,
Yeah.
and that thing was a major battery hog. So I used to carry 2 charge packs with me.
Yeah, like so you get it. And this thing, I don't have to have a charge pack. It just goes all day. And plus I'm just like I prefer the Apple ecosystem, you know, like it just works for me.
Mm.
And so the iPhone big one and like I guess the new one has better cameras and shit but like this one takes good pictures and like the battery's great and while that continues to be the case, I see no reason to like upgrade at all.
Right. Which was really funny. I was arguing with, it was a friend of a friend. And so me and my friend were arguing with their friend because they were one of these people that literally go out there and buy they'll line up for the very next one. It's like, it's a phone. Like, how much more do you need another phone? And her reasoning was that, well, the new one had more, did more megapixels, but it had the same optics. So with the same optics, it's not going to make a better picture. It's going to be the same picture. It's just going to take up more memory because now you have more megapixels, So she was not getting no, but it's better because more like no, the optics are what take the picture, and if the optics are the same, you're going to get the same image.
So
Hang
that's
on.
actually
Everybody say goodbye. Everybody say goodbye. Bye,
Oh,
everybody.
bye.
Bye. Sorry.